Although she had already patted it many times, it ultimately had no real effect. If she were a real person, this woman would definitely smash plates and bowls while cooking in the kitchen. But she isn't a real person. With the robot's consciousness of, you might not use it all year round, but I must be prepared, she pads it when the time comes without the slightest error in the process. Lin Zaiasu sat in front of the stove, his mind focused on the time-space secret realm, comprehending the space-time laws. The space-time laws were like a great river. He couldn't perceive the entirety of the time-space river in one go. However, observing a single water droplet within it, watching that droplet unfold bit by bit before him, was also a kind of pleasure. This way, one drop of water at a time, exploring, the profound and exquisite space-time laws gradually formed a clear roadmap in his mind. The most practical use was in the application of the space secret realm. He was already able to perfect the arts of retrieving objects across space and remote placement. For example, he could make a plum blossom bloom within his secret realm from the neighboring courtyard wall, or he could make the same plum blossom appear out of nowhere on Little Yi's forehead. After all, Little Yi was a robot. Whether you placed the plum blossom petals on her forehead or her precious tip, the effect on her would be the same. She would smile without any impurities. Huya had already left. She left on the 3rd day of the first lunar month. Lin Zaiasu didn't know what effect the continuous consumption of 2 kinds of exotic beast meat had on her. But he himself had gained something. The gain was that after he shattered the primordial crystal of the Silver Mountain Bay with chaotic currents in the secret realm, his blood tower gained a golden luster, resembling bronze. 5 elements. What Huya needed was the 5 elements meat. And for himself, shattering the primordial crystals with 5 elements attributes seemed to enhance his blood tower towards perfection step by step. Could he collect all the 5 elements this new year? He felt a bit of anticipation. On the 16th day of the first lunar month, Lin Zaiasu stepped into the Fengcheng Detective Agency. The detective agency had already reopened. In fact, it reopened later than most units in the town. Seeing the 2 small flowers again made Lin Zaiasu very happy. Miao Ruolan's cheeks were flushed, seemingly anticipating the night. That night, of course, did not disappoint her. They had a full meal. As for Lin Zaiasu, the self-control that Chang Yi before the new year and Huya and Little Yi after the new year brought him, he let go like a bird released from its cage, spreading its wings to soar. On the 17th day of the first lunar month, a small car stopped in front of the detective agency. Lin Zaiasu, still in bed, received a call from Ding Ryushui. Spring is here. The rapeseed flowers are about to bloom but haven't yet. My car is parked downstairs with the scent of spring in it. May I ask if you can buy a high-speed rail ticket to spring? Lin Zaiasu replied with one word, yes. In the detective agency, Miao Ruolan was also blooming like the flowers of spring, but her gaze was involuntarily drawn to the car outside. Josei came over. Sister Lan, that's the high-speed rail to spring. This was the perspective of a detective. There were footsteps on the 2nd floor. Lin Zaiasu swung the small bag in his hand. Ruolan, I'm going to Northwest. Be careful. Don't worry. Lin Zaiasu got into the small car. The blue car turned a corner, left Fengcheng Avenue, and sped towards Huanggang High-Speed Railway Station. I didn't go to pay respects to your mom this new year. She won't pressure you again, will she? Lin Zaiasu said. You know it, Ding Ryushui sighed softly. I now deeply understand that you can never fake things. One lie requires 10 lies to cover, but there were some gains too. What gains? My mom gave me a precious gold bracelet, told me to give it to your mom. A precious bracelet, is it valuable? It was bought at an auction for 17 million. Damn, you rich people's money is really not treated as money. Are you really willing to give it to my mom? Is giving it to your mom considered my gain? What else did I gain besides an undeserving boyfriend? Ding Ryushui glanced at him. I sold it to He Like Shuan. My pocket money shot up to 8 digits. You say the bracelet itself was worth 8 digits. Lin Zaiasu was a bit confused. You don't understand luxury goods at all. 8-digit items can sell for 8 digits. Considering I'm an old customer, He Like Shuan bought it at half price for around 8 million. Adding the 4 or 5 million I already had, it shot up to 8 digits. Lin Zaiasu sighed, looking up. Heaven, earth, world, they dealt with something that rightfully belonged to me at half price and flaunted it before me in the still festive atmosphere of the new year, and I'm too powerless to complain. Can there be justice in this world? Don't talk about justice, at least not in front of me, Ding Ryushui said. Every minute I deal with you, every penny I give you, is a strong complaint against the word justice. They arrived at the high-speed railway station. They bought tickets directly to Kunlun. Ding Ryushui waved her phone. The high-speed rail to Spring has started. Do you have any comments? I do, Lin Zaiasu said. I think there will be a significant story in this trip to Kunlun. Ding Ryushui with a sparkling glance. What kind of story do you envision? With your small mouth open, whatever story wouldn't just jump out vividly. Only a fool would play guessing games with you. Ding Ryushui smiled contentedly. On the high-speed rail, I won't tell you. When we reach Kunlun territory, find a hotel in the best atmosphere, then I'll talk to you. The high-speed rail sped across 1,000 miles. The emerging hints of spring in the central region flashed past outside the window. The vast northwest was still in winter's chill. In the hotel, the heating was just right. Ding Ryushui took a bath and came gracefully, and the atmosphere was great. Yes, they only booked one room. Although this was somewhat ambiguous, neither of them felt any ambiguity. Perhaps there was only one reason, the card about to be revealed between them. Compared to this card, and the little moments they had been through together, sharing a room was not a big deal. I'm not sure if you've guessed my identity. Ding Ryushui sat down in front of him, lifting the teacup on the table. But it doesn't matter because after tonight, you won't need to guess in my eyes. Lin Zaiasu also lifted his teacup, nodding slightly. I'm ready, go on. I'm from Kunkang. My sect is Chunshui Palace. And then, Lin Zaiasu said. Damn, Ding Ryushui shouted. You're so calm and uncooperative. At least show some surprise. You act like everything is in your control. How am I supposed to confront you? What? You are actually a mysterious and magical Kunkang person, you have truly shocked me. Lin Zaiasu pointed at Ding Ryushui, his finger trembling. After taking a few deep breaths, he said 3 words, and then. Ding Ryushui slapped her forehead. I once left you a painting, and in it I left a map. This wasn't an order from my sect, it was my own doing. At that time I found you very suitable for Kunkang. Out of my own mind I left that painting. In Taoist words, that was, leaving a bond, seeing if there is destiny. How is that possible? How could there be a map in the painting? This is unimaginable. Lin Zaiasu was even more shocked. Ryushui, you really. Get lost, stop pretending in front of me, Ding Ryushui snapped. You think I do know? You went to the place indicated by the map last year, Wuxiang Temple. Don't pretend. From now on, no more pretending. Being surprised is wrong, staying calm is also wrong. Ryushui, you put me in a tough spot. Lin Zaiasu sighed. Fine, let's be straightforward. I guessed you were a world traveler from Kunkang. I deciphered the map you left in the painting and went to Wuxiang Temple, but I really don't know Chunshui Palace. I also don't know your ultimate plan of where this high-speed rail to Spring is heading. Ding Ryushui rolled her eyes at him. What do you mean by dragging you onto the high-speed rail? What do you mean by driving into a ditch? Do you have any basic manners towards me? In front of my mom, you still carry the boyfriend title. Use your toes to think. You'll also know I would only help you, not harm you. How do you plan to help me then? You practice the rejuvenation skill of the Miao family. You've even stepped half a foot onto the cultivation path. But the sky on the cultivation path is vast with infinite sceneries you can't even fathom. Ding Ryushui said, My master has taken an interest in you. She wants me to take you to meet her. Your master has taken an interest in me. Your master, theoretically, should be a centuries-old hag. Don't scare me. Get lost. Is there nothing but gender-related crap in your world? I'm talking about cultivation. Oh, it's about cultivation. Scared me to death, Lin Zaiasu said. Why has she taken an interest in me? Because of your remarkable deeds at De Rai Zioao Temple, my master got to know about it. Ding Ryushui's gaze was a bit complicated. Just because of that, Lin Zaiasu's eyes showed a hint of mystery. What do you mean just because of that? Isn't that enough? Ding Ryushui glared at him. Daring to confront the pinnacle of martial strength in the secular world, De Rai Zioao Temple, and actually leveling De Rai Zioao with the power of Hidden Dragon, this kind of frenzy, determination, and methods, what force could ignore? My master appreciates your valor and thinks you are promising. No way, what she aptly noticed should be my relationship with Qianlong. Lin Zaiasu said, Chunshui Palace is also looking to expand. With that one sentence, Ding Ryushui fell silent. Because that was the answer. Lin Zaiasu's promising talent, frankly speaking, was not valued by anyone in Kun Kang. In Kun Kang, people lack spiritual energy and resources. The only thing they don't lack is promising talent. The master's focus on him, as Lin Ziaosu pointed out, was due to his relationship with Qianlong. Surviving in Kun Kang was very tough. The 83 peaks, concentrated within a 500-mile radius, were almost mountain after mountain. The more people, the less resources available. The internal potential was indeed limited. In the top tier, under the restriction of phone battery being low, it was not really possible to have big conflicts, making it hard to compete for resources. All signs indicated that the path of internally tapping potential in Kun Kang was unfeasible. Therefore, they needed to expand outward. Chapter 264. Chapter 264. Entering Kun Kang with Ding Ruishui. Expanding outward is also difficult. First and foremost, they would have to face Qianlong. Qianlong is very concerned about Kun Kang's movements. If things go wrong, they might be eradicated by Qianlong. The Rai Xiao Temple is a very dangerous sign. In the past, everyone held an illusion that Kun Kang was so strong that Qianlong wouldn't dare to make a move against them. The fall of the Rai Xiao Temple shattered that illusion and awakened them. It made them realize that Qianlong also has Sanlengzi, who truly dare to lift the lid. Therefore, the various sects, if they want to expand outward, must have a clear understanding of Qianlong, either establish a positive relationship with Qianlong or be prepared to firmly resist them. Chunchui Palace chose the former. They wanted to establish a good relationship with Qianlong. But directly seeking out Qianlong is difficult, and it's unlikely Qianlong would promise them anything based on principles. So the sect master of Chunchui Palace thought of a method, taking a winding path to reach a secluded spot by using Lin Ziaosu's unique platform to build a connection with Qianlong. Not to seek Qianlong's privileges, just to ensure that when their disciples make their debut in the future, Qianlong won't take extreme measures against them. Even if they do, at least there's a way to moderate it, which is better than an incessant conflict. All of this is the follow-up to the Rai Xiao Temple's Iron Fist strike. This is the softness, after Lin Ziaosu's tough stance with blood trace and the other side's weighing of pros and cons. These words, Ding Ruishui eventually told him. Lin Ziaosu smiled, lifting his teacup. Chunchui Palace having such an idea, I think, is also a form of stance. He didn't give a clear answer. But the meaning between his words, how could Ding Ruishui not understand? This is still an agreement. You think it's really feasible? Lin Ziaosu said. If it were a truly peaceful era, it's very difficult for a force of non-human strength to enter the normal human realm. However, with the hostile powers becoming more rampant nowadays, and crises emerging from underground and even the sky, we can't think with conventional wisdom. The long absence of Kun Kang's guardian from Daxia's two main guardians is also Qianlong's concern. Chunchui Palace being willing to take this step, I believe Qianlong would welcome it. If you can have this recognition, I'm sure Master would be very happy too. Ding Ruishui smiled softly. Then I wish you a smooth journey to Kun Kang. Raising the teacup like raising a glass of wine, they drank a cup. Lin Ziaosu smiled gently. How did you come to be connected with Kun Kang? This part which was once a secret is no longer. Ding Ruishui's name has the character water in it, and she is also someone who loves water. Therefore, in her life, she loved traveling to mountains and water. This kind of love, probably few rich and idle people in the world are different. In the smoky lake of Huixian town, she encountered someone who could play beautifully with water. This person used water to draw a Lu River map in front of her. The fluidity of the water, the artistic conception of the painting, made Ding Ruishui feel like she was observing an immortal. Whether it was based on her love of painting or water, it drove her to approach that mysterious woman who looked very much like an older sister. That person asked her a question. Would you be willing to turn the water in your name into the Milky Way of the ninth heaven? This question opened the door to her cultivation. She entered Kun Kang. That year she interrupted her studies and stepped from the path of painting into the path of cultivation. From then on, her world no longer had paintings, only the Milky Way water depicted by that woman. The woman who suddenly appeared on her journey was Chunchui Palace's palace master Li Chushui. Li Chushui took a liking to Ding Ruishui because she accidentally opened the water secret realm within her body. Ding Ruishui herself didn't know how this secret realm was opened. She only knew that she always had an abundance of water. As a child, she cried a lot. Her mother had to prepare extra-large handkerchiefs for her. As a teenager, she loved water, and the Nanhu outside her house was her bathhouse. She grew up with a watery radiance, and she suspected this radiance was continuously supported by the secret realm within her. In summary, this is a natural constitution. Chunchui Palace, what kind of palace is it? Lin Zaiasu asked the second question. Chunchui Palace is the ancestor of playing with water in the world. In their eyes, water is the source of power. Water is a tool in their hands. The sword Dao, movement technique, and cultivation techniques all relate to water. Water is the most flexible, soft as nothing. Water is also the toughest, able to wear through stone. Water is also pure, so the sect is generally considered quite righteous. Lin Zaiasu nodded, asking a third question. Kun Kang is indeed very mysterious in the world. You might have no problem returning, but would there be any obstacles in bringing me in? This question seems simple, but Lin Zaiasu was very concerned about the answer. He once tried to enter Wuxiang Temple. The old monk sat there unmovingly, and despite him explicitly expressing his desire to enter Kun Kang, the monk didn't relent, saying he didn't have the authority to decide. Lin Zaiasu had asked him who had the authority. The old monk said it was a wishful request, damn it. Thus, Lin Zaiasu wanted to know, is the authority exclusive to a sect master of Kun Kang? This answer is very important. Ding Ryushui smiled. Indeed, entering Kun Kang is difficult and requires thorough verification, but don't worry. I have the Chunshui token bestowed by my master. According to the tacit understanding among all the sects of Kun Kang, a sect master's personal token can bring people in. No further words. The next day, they formally entered Kun Kang. The two of them took a carriage to Huixian town. The town remained the same as before. Quiet and peaceful. The smoky lake stretched for miles. The north of Huixian town, the ancient Wuxiang temple's Zen bell rang softly. Following the mellow sound of the bell, they ascended the path. Lin Zaiasu once again saw the little monk, Liao Ran. After half a year, the little monk's forehead seemed even shinier. Hey little monk, we meet again. Upon meeting, Lin Zaiasu reached out to touch the little monk's head. The feel was quite unique. Liao Ran tilted his head to look at Lin Zaiasu. Benefactor, don't be so touchy. No way, we are old acquaintances, you wouldn't be pretending not to know me, would you? Liao Ran pressed his palms together. Benefactor, please don't say that. I'm still a child, not a righteous person, and don't remember where I've seen you before. Damn it, really forgot. Lin Zaiasu turned to Ding Ryushui. I thought children have good memories. Ding Ryushui gave him a wry look, lightly shaking her head. This way. Leading him directly to the side hall. Giving him a look that said, you need to curb your touchy habits. A monk's head is not something to touch casually. It's considered by them as the long burning lamp before Buddha's seat. You randomly touching it like this is not acceptable, not to women, not to monks. Even if they remember you, they'd pretend not to. Up ahead was the side hall. That old monk sat there as stately as ever. Ding Ryushui stepped forward and saluted, Master Huiguang. Master Ding. Master Huiguang opened his eyes, but his gaze only fell on Ding Ryushui's face, not looking at Lin Zaiasu. At least, Lin Zaiasu didn't feel a focused gaze. I need to bring someone in. Ding Ryushui reached into her pocket, naturally to take out the Chunshui order granted by her sect master. Bringing someone in required, showing the sect leader token. However, a hand suddenly reached out, pressing down on her hand. Ding Ryushui hesitated slightly, her hand half retracted without fully pulling out the token. Master Huiguang lightly nodded, now. Now. Master Huiguang raised his hand gently, pointing at a statue beside him. This statue was sculpted on the right wall of the left side, looking very abstract, even a bit bizarre, like an unfinished piece. But when his finger touched it, the statue's eyes suddenly glowed faintly. The stone wall before them separated. Ding Ryushui and Lin Zaiasu walked in side by side. The stone wall behind them closed. As it fully closed, a scene unfolded before them like a curtain rising, showing the unique landscape of Kun Kang. The mountain stood 1,000 feet high. A cliff as steep as a peak. Exotic flowers and rare herbs adorned the scene. The wind blew, carrying the scent of spring, the intensity of summer, the crispness of autumn, and the harshness of winter. Ancient cities reminiscent of feudal times. various strange birds flying in the sky, as in a fairyland. The passage they walked through was no longer a passage but a stone wall. On the stone wall, a large character was written in traditional script, Li Separation. In front of them stood a bridge 10 feet wide, made entirely of green wood, weathered by years of wind and rain. Though old, it wasn't damaged. The bridge had a name, Gui Return. Li Gate Gui Bridge. This is Kun Kang's entrance, or rather its exit. Does it feel strange, like you've stepped into the world of immortals and heroes? Ding Ryushui asked. In her understanding, Lin Zaiasu entering Kun Kang for the first time should have the same expression as she did back then, completely incredulous. Lin Zaiasu's face indeed looked a bit off. And you, don't you find this a bit strange? The first time, yes, but I mean the process of entering Kun Kang, Lin Zaiasu said. You said that to bring me in, you need to show the sect leader token, but you didn't show it, yet we entered. Ding Ryushui frowned slightly. Maybe Master already gave them a heads up. That's not strange, right? Lin Zaiasu's lips curled into a faint smile. Makes sense. Shall we go? Should we first head to town to buy some clothes? This outfit of mine seems a bit conspicuous. Ding Ryushui smiled gently. I find your greatest strength is truly staying calm in the face of change. That's great. In Kun Kang, this trait is particularly important because there are countless things that will challenge your imagination. Crossing the bridge, Lin Zaiasu looked back. This glance held profound meaning. Ding Ryushui had said that entering Kun Kang had a threshold. Not just anyone could enter randomly. This completely aligned with Kun Kang's image. Today they entered, Ding Ryushui needing to show the Chunshui order, simply and directly bringing him in. If she had shown it and brought him in, it would be normal. The problem is, Lin Zaiasu stopped her. Why stop her? Because Lin Zaiasu wanted to test it. Chapter 265. Chapter 265 Test it out. Test his face to see how sensitive it is in Kun Kang. He also wanted to test what it meant that Wuxiang Temple controlled the entrances and exits of Kun Kang. Wuxiang Temple in his dictionary was a very special place. Ever since the white-clothed King Lu Xiushu mentioned this name on the phone, it had become somewhat special. Kun Kang's exits and entrances were all in Wuxiang Temple. Wuxiang Temple was a crucial piece in the grand chessboard of Kun Kang. The test results came out unexpectedly surprising. It seems that he had no sensitivity at all. Little monk Liao Ran didn't recognize him. The old monk who had once said that his desire to enter Kun Kang was a hopeless wish ignored him. Originally, the sect leader token was needed to enter. He held down Ding Ryushui's hand to delay, but in the end, he did not show the Chunshui order. Hey, the old monk seemed to have completely forgotten this procedure, or perhaps he didn't sleep well last night and was a bit careless this morning, allowing direct entry. If it was really as Ding Ryushui said, that the Chunshui Palace Master personally coordinated this result, it would be understandable. But if not, then it was worth pondering. He entered the city by crossing a long bridge. The attention Lin Zaiasu received was there, but not much. Because how could one describe this city? There was an element of seclusion. But it wasn't particularly complete. There were ancients here who hadn't left for hundreds of years. But there were also people who roamed outside. There were even people like Ding Ryushui, who were originally from outside, but halfway through changed their path to immortal cultivation. So don't be fooled by the ancient architecture, which seemed like the Song dynasty, but who knows, someone might lift their long robe and casually pull out a mobile phone. However, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's still better to blend in with the locals. So at the bridgehead of Gui Bridge, there was a building named Yanhua Building. Ding Ryushui led him straight in. Lin Zaiasu was a bit confused by these three characters. What kind of place is this? Ding Ryushui chuckled lightly. These three words, you probably interpret them quite indecently. The real reason is that you are viewing the words Yanhua with a lecherous heart. She guessed correctly. Lin Zaiasu indeed interpreted Yanhua as places of ill repute, and on seeing these words, unhealthy images had crossed his mind. Ding Ryushui added, smoke disperses easily, flowers fade quickly, prosperity ultimately resembles fireworks, there's no need to deliberately draw shapes. This is the correct interpretation of Yanhua. We need to change clothes, exchange currency, and achieve a temporary change in identity here. This Yanhua building was just a structure standing at the boundary of two worlds, facilitating the transition between the two, reminding passers-by that the scenery of both places was transient and should not be overly valued. Ding Ryushui took out a stack of red bills, exchanged them for 30 shiny items, retrieved the clothes she had deposited the last time she went out, and also got an outfit for Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu put it on, looked at himself in the copper mirror in front of him, and felt like he was preparing for the stage. Here, these are 10 kun coins, Ding Ryushui said. Although theoretically we won't use these once we join the sect, you can occasionally take a break from your cultivation and come to the market to pick up girls or something. Lin Zaiasu accepted the small crystals that were brighter than copper coins, feeling the faint chi inside. What kind of purchasing power do these 10 kun coins have? Equivalent to 1,000 Daxia coins. 1,000 yuan, and you want me to just pick up girls? Are the girls here that cheap? A 1,000-year-old natural, healthy product with pure character, no haggling, very easy to talk to. And more importantly, nobody checks the rooms. Ding Ryushui said seriously. Lin Zaiasu walked with her along the long street. There was a building in front, and a woman really did stand at the window looking down. Lin Zaiasu looked up and the woman waved a red scarf. "Sir, come up and have some fun." The coquettish voice mixed with the scent of makeup made Lin Zaiasu's neck shrink. Suddenly, an angry shout came from upstairs. "Dare to freeload at Yuhua building with 20 kun coins, throw him out." Bang! Bang! It became chaotic. Lin Zaiasu and Ding Ryushui walked quickly past. Lin Zaiasu grabbed Ding Ryushui's hand. "Someone gets counted as freeloading for 20 kun coins, and you gave me 10 to pick up girls. What does that amount to?" Ding Ryushui laughed so hard she bent over. After laughing, she confidently said, "You really want to? Don't forget I'm your girlfriend. Dare to use my money for such things, aren't you asking for a beating? Serves you right. If you really want to, earn it yourself." "Earn hell? Your only chance to make money right now is to perform well in front of my master and receive a sect reward," Ding Ryushui said. "It's all about not knowing the market. If I had known that Kun Kang currency could be exchanged with reality, I would have brought some cash with me directly. There shouldn't be mobile transfers here, right? You can try at various mountain tops to see if there's any signal." Lin Zaiasu glared at her fiercely. "Running around the mountain tops, are you not happy unless you see me getting beaten up all over?" This place, though it seemed to have many mountains, each mountain was a sect's crucial ground. Running around was like sneaking into the private quarters of highborn ladies. After some teasing and fooling around, Lin Zaiasu figured out the currency system here. Outside cash could be exchanged for Kun Kang currency. This was because people from Kun Kang also needed this when they went out. But mobile transfers were out of the question. There wasn't even any signal here. There wasn't even electricity here. Theoretically, outside generators could be brought in, but cultivators' minds were different. In their dictionary, immortal law and technology were opposed. So modern technology was almost non-existent here. It's not that it wasn't needed, but it was despised. If this was a journey through time, the initial stage template for the journey would be different. The scenario of dazzling the ancient people by copying poems wouldn't happen. Taking out a phone to win the favor of saintess-level figures wouldn't happen. If you dare to flaunt modern knowledge, you might be met with a bunch of people scorning you. Pretentious jerk. If you talked about science, they might use a sentence to pin you against the wall. At the end of science is mysticism. In this world, cultivation was the high end. Technology was scoffed at by cultivators. The two walked along the street, and there was a great river ahead. The river had a ferry. Flowing downstream for 100 miles was the Chunshui sect. Just entering spring. The river water was still cold. But Lin Zaiasu and Ding Ryushui, who had already built the blood tower within themselves, were immune to cold and heat as chi flowed within their blood towers. Ding Ryushui wore a light blue long dress, with a jade hairpin in her hair, like a true Han Dynasty lady. Lin Zaiasu, dressed in white men's hanfu with a blue belt, except his hair was shorter than the locals, looked quite similar to the handsome guys here. The two stood at the bow of the boat, appearing like a golden couple in the boatman's eyes. "Young master, young lady, where are you headed?" the boatman asked politely. "To Fingling Ferry by Chunshui Lake," Ding Ryushui said. "All right, 1 kun coin will do." They paid a kun coin, and the boat sailed downstream. Lin Zaiasu looked at the scenery on both banks, lost in thought. Kun Kang supposedly atop Kunlun. Before entering Kun Kang, he had imagined some earthly wonder hidden atop Kunlun Mountain. But entering Kun Kang himself shattered those expectations. Kun Kang was in another space. Although it seemed to be above Kunlun, if one organized a large-scale mountain climbing or expedition team and ventured into Kunlun with the most advanced technology searching every inch, it would still be in vain. Because the existence of Kun Kang wasn't about how hidden it was, but about a kind of space law. If Kun Kang was like this, what about other places in the world? Could there be countless space secret realms hidden in our world? If folded space were opened, Earth could expand 100, 1,000 times. Would the open folded spaces be thousands of Kun Kangs? There are too many unsolved mysteries in the world. What we consider as truths are just our recognition within our current understanding. The river roared with the sounds of apes. Light boats passed through 1,000 mountains. By noon, a channel appeared ahead of the boat. The river water was slightly blue, the channel clear. Lined with green willows on both sides, leading to a crescent-shaped lake, a high mountain on the right, with pavilions and towers on the mountain, like a divine scene in the misty rain. That's Chunshui Palace. Ding Ryushui pointed to the mountain peak. Is that Fingerling Ferry? Lin Zaiasu pointed to the row of pavilions by the lake. To his aesthetic, the elegance of the pavilions was unparalleled. Cleverly utilizing the terrain and the surrounding grass and trees, every detail was exquisitely designed. Yes, Fingerling Ferry is where my master landed all those years ago, painstakingly crafting it for over 300 years. Ding Ryushui's voice paused slightly. Her expression changed as she looked at a group of people on the shore. Lin Zaiasu's eyes turned slightly. He smiled. If these people are here to welcome me, I would really have to say, your master is overestimating my importance. Something's off. Ding Ryushui's face grew serious. My master instructed me to bring you to Chunshui Palace discreetly, not to publicize it. How could she arrange such a large welcome party? Moreover, these people don't seem right. Second senior brother Xiang Yue Ran never greets guests, and she's here too. Her gaze fell on a small boat beside the pavilion. This boat was extremely elegant, snow-white with green gauze, like a touch of fairy dust in the lake and mountain scenery. Who is she? My master's daughter, the current saintess Li Bingxin. Lin Zaiasu's heavenly Tao wisdom eye activated, staring at the boat. The light gauze on the boat swayed with the wind, through which most people could only vaguely see two elegant figures inside, but he could see clearly. Chapter 266. Chapter 266. Someone blocks the way outside the Chunshui Palace. A young lady appeared, her delicate brows like distant mountains, her complexion like spring peaches, her skin like coagulated fat, and her lips like cherries. In terms of appearance alone, she truly had a national beauty and heavenly fragrance. However, when she raised her eyes, she saw through the 10-mile-long lake in an instant, and her gaze was full of immortal disdain for the mundane world. It seemed that the ordinary people under the heavens were far inferior to the white fox on her knee. At least this fox could make her gaze somewhat gentle and affectionate. There was another person beside her, dressed as a maid, with curiosity in her eyes. The small boat approached the corridor under the attention of a group of disciples. Ding Ryushui slowly relaxed her delicate brows and disembarked from the boat. Lin Zaiasu also followed suit. Step by step, they walked onto the embankment, heading towards the corridor. Suddenly, with a swish, a folding fan opened. Lin Zaiasu looked up and saw Xiang Yue Ran smiling, Ding Ryushui's second senior brother. Junior sister Ding, on this trip outside, you actually brought an outsider back, Xiang Yue Ran asked. This is personally arranged by Master, Ding Ryushui replied. The palace master always teaches us to strictly prevent outsiders from infiltrating, and now you tell me Master arranged for you to bring an outsider in. Junior sister Ding, do you think I believe your story? Xiang Yue Ran questioned. It's fine if you don't believe me, but do you believe this? Ding Ryushui raised her hand, revealing a token in her palm. A crystal-clear Chunshui order. Ding Ryushui was an outsider. She was also a daughter of a wealthy family. She was not the type to accept fate quietly. In her bones, she never regarded these natives highly. Especially Xiang Yue Ran, who usually prided himself on being a romantic scholar, but to Ding Ryushui, his native style of romance was childish, so she never showed him any pleasant expressions. Facing these disciple-level individuals, she didn't bother with excessive words. However, the moment her Chunshui order shone, a sudden change occurred. With a faint sound, a streak of blue water separated from the lake below. The blue water rose and wrapped around the Chunshui order. Ding Ryushui's expression darkened. A strand of hair suddenly flicked up, sharp as a sword. It slashed towards the blue water. However, the blue water suddenly released a green light, shaking her hair away, rolling up the Chunshui order like waves breaking a dam. Ding Ryushui's strength surged, but compared to the force attacking, it was insignificant. The blue water forcibly seized the Chunshui order. The Chunshui order adhered to the lake, shooting towards the white boat 10 meters away. Saintess Li Bingson lightly raised her finger, and the Chunshui order landed on her fingertip. Ding Ryushui's eyes flashed with cold light. "Saintess, what do you mean?" Saintess Li Bingson replied indifferently. "Ding Ryushui, you are merely an outsider. The Chunshui order of my mother is not for you to control." Ding Ryushui retorted coldly. "If it's not for me to control, does it necessarily mean it's for you, the so-called saintess, to control? Your mother is still here. She should decide." Generally, disciples couldn't rebut the saintess's dominance, but Ding Ryushui was a modern person. Li Bingson's face suddenly darkened. The maid beside her shouted angrily, "Such audacity to dare address the saintess!" Ding Ryushui directly interrupted, "Master." Her voice resonated like ocean waves, piercing the void, directly reaching Chunshui Palace. She didn't bother to entangle herself. "Leave this mess to Master. Whether her daughter is spoiled or scolded, she doesn't care, why should I? As for the Chunshui order, if Li Bingson insists on taking it since her cultivation has reached observing heaven, she can have it. After all, it belongs to her mother." However, her shout by the lake received no response. Xiang Yueran smiled slightly. "Junior sister Ding, the palace master is in seclusion and cannot hear your call." Ding Ryushui's brows furrowed slightly. Her gaze turned to Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu's expression was strange, like a bystander watching the drama unfold. Meeting her gaze, he had a playful look on his face. Xiang Yueran lightly tapped the folding fan in his hand, closing it. "Junior sister Ding, since you cannot prove that you brought an outsider by the palace master's order, you can only enter through another method." "What method?" Xiang Yueran said. "By welcoming with the sword. Whoever can withstand my sword strike will be considered a heavenly pride of this generation and can enter the palace as a guest. This gentleman, do you dare?" With the last 6 words, his gaze finally landed on Lin Zaiasu's face. It seemed that only at this moment did everyone truly see Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu laughed. "Ryushui, I really must sigh, there's bullshit every year, but this year started off unusually full of it." Everyone looked at each other. Is this how outsiders speak? Flippant, audacious, without boundaries. Lin Zaiasu's gaze shifted to Xiang Yueran. "Xiang Yueran, right? You've schemed a bunch, creating numerous obstacles to prevent me from entering Chunshui Palace, yet you seem to overlook the essential issue." "The essential issue?" Xiang Yueran asked coldly. "The essential issue is, your palace master actively invited me over. I'm here only out of regard for Ryushui giving you a chance reluctantly." Lin Zaiasu sighed. "You should be grateful, yet you still shut me out. Fine, fine, I won't play anymore. I'm leaving." With these words, he took a step. That step left the corridor. With a swish, a long sword appeared before Lin Zaiasu's nose, 5 feet away, swift as flowing water. Xiang Yueran's face darkened like water, thinking of leaving. Ding Ryushui's face also darkened. Stepping beside Lin Zaiasu, her chest lightly heaving, Lin Zaiasu raised his hand gently, stopping her from acting. Lin Zaiasu spoke calmly. "It's truly strange. You don't let me enter Chunshui Palace, I comply with you, but when I try to leave, you stop me. What kind of rule is this? Daring to cause a ruckus at Chunshui Palace and wanting to leave unscathed. You think Chunshui Palace is easy to bully," Xiang Yueran said. "Cause a ruckus? I somewhat doubt if you even know how to write the words cause a ruckus." Lin Zaiasu sighed. "Just say directly, what do you plan to do? Take 1 sword from me if you can withstand it. You prove you have the freedom to come and go," Xiang Yueran said. Ding Ryushui stepped forward. "He has never learned swordsmanship. If you're interested, I'll accompany you." "Haha, trash who hasn't even learned swordsmanship dares to speak of giving opportunities to Chunshui Palace. How ridiculously arrogant." Xiang Yueran laughed loudly, along with all the disciples in the corridor. Lin Zaiasu also laughed. Although I indeed haven't learned swordsmanship to deal with you, a sword may not be necessary. If you're interested then. He extended his hand. A willow twig hanging above fell into his hand, lightly breaking. The tender willow pointed at Xiang Yue Ran. Come. Everyone's gaze locked onto the tender willow in his hand. Xiang Yue Ran's face turned iron blue. You dare insult me. I travel the world always reasonable, however. The ancient saying goes, when idiots are extremely foolish, if not insulted by others, they insult themselves. Lin Ziasu's elegant speech, delivered in a pretentious manner, instantly angered Xiang Yue Ran. Seeking death, his sword rose, a circle of green light akin to waves spreading from the sword. Ding Ruoshui's hair fluttered gently. Her entire demeanor completely changed. No longer the neighborly girl beside Nanhu, she transformed into the image when she angrily killed Li Songtao. Cold with endless killing intent. Lin Ziasu said one sentence. Ruoshui stepped back. Ding Ruoshui looked at him deeply, her figure blurred, retreating to the corridor. Wish. Xiang Yue Ran's sword gleamed, the green light akin to silver exploding. Green light surged like waves, rushing towards Lin Ziasu. This was Chunshui's swordsmanship's initial move, Bai Bo Liu. Bai Bo Liu was not a true sword move, but it was also an ultimate sword move. The true essence lay in momentum. Sword moves originate from momentum, and sword moves also end in momentum. The initial move places the enemy within the sword's momentum. Once completely surrounded, even an opponent a level stronger would lament in Bai Bo Liu. Breaking Bai Bo Liu is actually simple. Just interrupt the opponent's continuous sword momentum. Thus, very few people use Bai Bo Liu as a sword move. And few people truly fall for this move. Unless you don't understand the subtlety of this move. Lin Ziasu certainly didn't understand. But Ding Ruoshui did. Although she didn't primarily practice swordsmanship, being in Chunshui Palace, how could she be ignorant of its sword moves? Her sound flowed like water into Lin Ziasu's ear. This move is building momentum. Breaking it is simple, direct attack will disrupt its formation. This sound was akin to secret transmission. Only Lin Ziasu could hear it. It might be her skill after unlocking the water secret realm in her body. It was her first time displaying it before Lin Ziasu. Even during pretend relationships, she never used it, though theoretically full of private conversations. She used it today, because she and Lin Ziasu were forced onto the same side by these pesky fellow disciples. However, Lin Ziasu, staring at the sword, seemed intrigued, without any movement. Ding Ruoshui bit her lips. You little rascal, what should I say to you? In the outside world, you seize every moment, exploiting the tiniest flaws and tear them apart mercilessly. Why in Kun Kang, facing real battles, you can't grasp the opponent's flaws? The sword momentum rolled like waves, nearing complete encirclement. At this moment, Lin Ziasu moved. He raised his hand, the tender willow in his palm pointing diagonally. A willow leaf floated out, shooting into the faintly formed Bai Bo Liu's green waves. The green waves had already formed. In theory, not even a bullet could penetrate the muddy green waves without altering direction. But this willow leaf seemed to hit a crucial point. The rolling green waves are a flawless wave surface. This willow leaf is a stone thrown into the wave, instantly disrupting its perfection. Xiang Yue Ran was slightly shocked. Is this an attack on the flaw, breaking the move with precision? All moves have flaws. Absolute masters can pinpoint these flaws. This is the essence of sword arts, but how could this young guy have such foresight? See the key point of true chi flow. Though surprised, he didn't mind. Bai Bo Liu wasn't an offensive move. Break it if you will. Starting another move is all. However, at this moment, Lin Ziasu's tender willow shook. 18 willow leaves shot out simultaneously. Chapter 267. Chapter 267. A sword to kill observing heaven, requesting monthly votes. The willowy leaves emerge, almost formless. In an instant, they reach Xiang Yue Ran, suddenly transforming into 18 rapidly spinning willow leaf cones. Each willow leaf cone carries a terrifying impact. Xiang Yue Ran faces an instant onslaught from what seems like 18 masters. With a sudden horizontal sweep of his long sword, he invokes the strongest defense of Chunshui swordsmanship, Chunshui Dam. One sword blocks all 18 willow leaves. Boom! The long sword resonates as if struck by 18 waves simultaneously. The front leaf punctuated Lin Zaiasu's precision in key acupuncture points, while the 18 waves showcase raw power without any flourish. Xiang Yue Ran's hair stands up high, and his eyes widen. Heaven witnesses, he did not retreat an inch. Yet everyone clearly saw that this move did not bring him any advantage. And his initial claim, if you can withstand one move from me, you have the right to come and go freely. Lin Zaiasu withstood his move. This move, however, was evenly matched. The key point was that Xiang Yue Ran used a sword, whereas Lin Zaiasu merely used a tender willow branch he casually broke off. Bravo! Ding Ryushui cheered loudly, clapping her hands with reckless abandon. In the long corridor, she was the only one clapping. The nearby disciples glared at her with gloomy faces. Below the corridor in Chunshui Lake, Saintess Li Bingson fixed a cold stare on her face, watching for a long time. Ding Ryushui knew she was being watched but didn't care. This lady knows you have a grudge against me for favoring my mother too much, making the genuine Saintess feel unnoticed. But so what? This lady is different from the disciples merely drifting through the sect. They worry about offending you and not being able to survive within the sect, so they endure despite their disdain. But me, I'm a rich lady with money and power. If I can't stay here, I can leave and still be carefree outside. Do I need to endure you? I will frustrate you to death. Lin Zaiasu raised his gaze slightly, smiling. Lin Zaiasu's voice came too late. A voice suddenly echoed from above the lake, the authentic secret technique of our sect, Dakongshuan. The voice started from 100 meters away. But as soon as it finished, it was already at their ears. Lin Zaiasu swiftly turned around, squinting slightly. Above the lake, 3 figures tread upon the waves. Yes, treading on waves. Their feet touched the lake's surface as if walking on flat ground. 20 meters in 3 steps, 3 figures in purple robes stood upon the embankment. All 3 had graying hair, clearly not young. They emerged from the waves of the lake, with an immortal-like aura, standing before Lin Zaiasu with a magical sense of suppression. All around instantly fell silent, as if even the lake waters quieted at that moment. It seemed as if only these 3 people existed in the entire world. They were like 3 towering mountains, exerting tremendous pressure. Zio Palace, elders of the observing heaven realm. 3 high elders acting together this. The corridor stirred with commotion. Lin Zaiasu captured several keywords. Zio Palace, observing heaven realm. Elder. His heart pounded, as if a mysterious thread had connected. Young man, the technique you used is Dakongshuan. The elder in the center spoke slowly. Where did you steal our Dakongshuan technique? Speak, the elder on the left demanded. The elder on the right added, without our permission, those who steal our secret techniques will have their cultivation abolished. As soon as the voice finished, he stepped forward. The corridor seemed to tremble slightly. I understand, Lin Zaiasu said 4 words. The elder took another step, even the lake seemed to vibrate. Lin Zaiasu smiled faintly. The Rai Zioao Temple, indeed there is a sect behind it, and it is you, Zioao Palace, isn't it? The elder took a 3rd step. The willow branch in front of Lin Zaiasu seemed to stop swaying in the wind. A strange pressure permeated the land. Lin Zaiasu's hair slowly floated upward. A subtle blood glow appeared between his brows. His voice remained calm. I exterminated that damned Da Rai Zioao temple that brought disaster to Daxia, severing the demonic claw you extended into Daxia. So now you seek revenge on me. It's understandable, but have you thought about a grave consequence? The elder took another step. Only 3 steps remained between him and Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu stated, that grave consequence is, Zioao Palace is heading towards its own destruction. Boom! The elder took the final step. He was within reach of Lin Zaiasu. Lin Zaiasu's hair flew wildly, not retreating a single step. On his forehead, a vivid blood tower began to glow. This wasn't something he intentionally activated. This was triggered spontaneously under immense pressure. He was at the observing earth realm. The elders were at observing heaven. A realm apart meant worlds apart. Yet facing such heavy pressure, such terrifying force within reach of life and death, Lin Zaiasu did not retreat even half a step. Moreover, his words became increasingly forceful. With a swish, someone intercepted him. It was Ding Ryushui. Ding Ryushui stood beside Lin Zaiasu and faced the observing heaven realm elder. The elders of Zioil Palace should know some manners. This place belongs to Chunchui Palace, not Zioil Palace. What, you're bullying people all the way to the gates of Chunchui Palace? Her presence carried little weight, but her words bound everyone present. This place indeed belongs to Chunchui Palace. Kunkang is a place regulated by laws. Bullying people on someone else's territory means offending not just the bullied, but also the local hosts. What senior sister Ding says is right, someone started to echo. No matter what, Zioil Palace must inform Chunchui Palace if you want to do anything here. Do you think you can act this way? This is an insult to Chunchui Palace. A second person spoke. The elder seemed hesitant. The elder behind him bowed slightly to the little boat in the lake. The young lady's words do have some reason. Since the saintess of Chunchui Palace is here, let her judge. This scoundrel plotted to murder the esteemed high master of Da Rai Zioil Temple and stole our secret technique Dekongxuan. We three elders abolish his cultivation. Does this seem excessive? Li Bingson said coldly. There is a saying in the cultivation world, those who possess the technique hold the authority. This lad has cultivated your sect's secret technique, thus he is your sect's disciple. How Zioil Palace enforces its rules has nothing to do with Chunchui Palace. Upon hearing this, Ding Rushui was furious. Li Bingson. Audacious, Xiang Yue Ren shouted. Disrespecting the saintess is grounds for expulsion. Ha ha ha, it would be a notable story if our two sects handled a renegade together. The middle elder laughed loudly, his voice resonating across the lake. Suddenly, a chilly voice descended from the willow tree. In the world of cultivation, it is indeed true that those who possess the technique hold the authority. This young man has mastered Dekongxuan, so he should be handled by Zioil Palace. This makes for a fair argument. However, is Dekongxuan truly your Zioil Palace's technique? This voice was very cold. This voice was also very abrupt. Everyone looked up at once, simultaneously shocked. Atop the willow tree, on a tender willow branch, stood a figure. This figure was extremely thin, like a ghost floating in the wind. She wore a green wooden mask, depicting a woman's image, extremely bewitching and extremely enchanting, yet indescribably eerie. At least 20 people were present. No one knew when she appeared at the top of the willow tree. However, her mastery in standing on tender willow branches like flat ground revealed that her cultivation level was at least observing heaven. A master of observing heaven, which in major sects is often an elder or even a top elder. The middle elder spoke solemnly. Who in Kunkang does not know that Dekongxuan is our Zioil Palace's defining technique? Does the young lady dispute this? The woman on top of the willow tree sneered. Dekongxuan's secret technique originates from the third scroll of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. It is the cultivation technique of Reincarnation sect. Such a small Zioil Palace dares to claim ownership. Whereas Reincarnation sect in Kunkang, the elder retorted coldly. Who said Kunkang doesn't have Reincarnation sect? I am from it. The willow branch swayed. The woman above appeared like a ghost, landing before Lin Ziasu with phantom-like agility. Her deep eyes locked onto the ninth elder. According to the rule, those who possess the technique hold the authority. All techniques of Zioil Palace stem from my Reincarnation sect. You should acknowledge me as superior, kneel and call me Granny. A black line spread across the ninth elder's face. Zioil Palace's techniques indeed originated from Reincarnation sect. But the Reincarnation sect was not of this territory. Impudent, the ninth elder shouted angrily. You don't believe that I am from Reincarnation sect, the mysterious woman said coldly. How will you prove your identity? The ninth elder stepped up, powerful aura emanating. I can't prove it myself, but you can, the mysterious woman said. The ninth elder frowned deeply. What does she mean? You personally go to the Reincarnation Road and investigate, you'll understand. Swish. A silver gleam flashed and disappeared. It was as if nothing had happened. However, the ninth elder's eyes suddenly widened. A soft sound, splitting from the center of his brow, two halves of his bloody corpse neatly fell apart. The mysterious woman held a white long sword, which she didn't know when she had obtained. She gazed at the blood dripping from the sword's dark groove, seemingly mesmerized. Whoosh! More than 10 disciples of Chunchui Palace retreated simultaneously. The white boat in the lake rippled with waves. Saintess Li Bingson of Chunchui Palace's expression changed. The folding fan in Xiang Yue Ran's hand stopped halfway. The remaining 2 elders of Zioil Palace stood up, their eyes filled with fierce light. yet showing some fear. Among those present, only they had clearly seen the sword strike. Precisely because they saw it, they truly feared. The sword strike was exceedingly fast, exceedingly strange. The ninth elder, being observing heaven, was slain instantly, without any ability to counter. If targeted at them, this crazed woman dared to openly massacre members of Zayal Palace. Once she did, it was genuinely perilous. In the stifling air, the mysterious woman smiled lightly. This elder must have already verified on the reincarnation road and confirmed my identity, its recognition of my lineage. What do you two other Zayal elders think? Do you want to verify as well? Chapter 268. Chapter 268. Ding Ryushui throws a tantrum. The two Zayal Palace elders simultaneously felt a tightness in their chests. Facing something that couldn't be proven, the response of this mysterious woman was to directly send people to the reincarnation road. If they didn't come back to refute her, it meant they acknowledged what she said. What the hell, you rogue, so unabashedly? If you don't want to ask, then run away. The mysterious woman lightly shook her head. Do I really need to count to 3? Whoosh! 2 figures stepped out, drawing 2 green lines in the lake water, disappearing in an instant. This gentleman here, the Chunchui Palace, is inhospitable, but I'm very hospitable. Come with me. The mysterious woman placed a hand on Lin Zayasu's shoulder. The next moment, she took Lin Zayasu and stepped on the azure waves, then 100 meters away in the second step, and the third step was deep within the misty waters. Ding Ryushui slowly withdrew her gaze from the lake and turned her eyes towards the small boat. Holy daughter. Li Bingxin slowly lifted her cold gaze. Ding Ryushui said, I know you don't like me, and I also know why you don't like me. There's only one reason, because your mother likes me. However, do you know why your mother with you right there doesn't like you but instead likes me, an outsider? Li Bingxin was at a loss because of her words. She was half dead with rage from the implication of those words. But she was also very interested in the answer to this question. She wanted to ask why exactly. However, she didn't ask, because as soon as she asked, she would appear weaker than Ding Ryushui. Ding Ryushui answered herself, because my master's fondness for me is not what you think. She just has high expectations for me. Her focus is on the interests of the Chunchui Palace sect. On the other hand, her dislike for you is also not what you think. She's just disappointed in you. Because your vision is too narrow, because you're conceited, because you simply can't bear the future of Chunchui Palace. After saying this, Ding Ryushui stepped onto a small boat. The boat pushed off the shore. If Master inquires about me when she comes out of seclusion, tell her I'll be waiting for her in the Ding family compound in Fanhua City for 7 days. If she doesn't come in 7 days, I will go live my rich lady life. Remember, this miss won't indulge anyone, yes, anyone. And she drifted away. Xiang Yue ran cast his gaze at Li Bingxin on the white boat. Li Bingxin's face was dark, and the small raccoon cat in her arms bared its teeth, seemingly sensing the murderous intensity of its owner's grip. Ding Ryushui drifted away. She returned to the sect but didn't enter. From the way she carried herself, it seemed like she wanted her master to fetch her personally. The disciples of Chunchui Palace looked at each other in bewilderment, not knowing what was going on. Are there such arrogant disciples in the world? Is there such a way of being a disciple in the world? In theory, no. But in Ding Ryushui's dictionary, this was normal. She was the one who opened the water secret realm. In front of her, Master had to draw big dreams and plans with all kinds of means to get her to join Chunchui Palace. Ding Ryushui was not a traditional disciple. She didn't have deep feelings for the sect. Why should she honor her elders when she had her own parents? Why should she honor a master who came out of nowhere? Did you raise me when I was young, or did you complete my education? Or did you help me through tough times? Come on, I'm a little rich girl with an 8-figure allowance. I was enjoying life, traveling around. It's you who begged me to join Chunchui Palace. Dare to play this game in front of me. Not only will I refuse to play along, but I'll also show you what real, aristocratic style means. On the river, 2 figures flitted by, like leaves in the wind. On the riverbank, there was a small slope, and the mysterious woman released her grip, standing shoulder to shoulder with Lin Zayasu. He smiled softly. Senior sister, long time no see. He had only one senior sister. Shenghua Valley's eldest senior sister, Feng Jai. Is it really her? The mysterious woman stretched out her hand, removing the mask that was extremely delicate, beautiful, yet eerie. Her eyes in the early spring cold carried the breath of spring. Lin Zaiasu looked at the face that seemed familiar yet very different and was taken aback. Senior sister, you've gained weight. If in the outside world he met a woman after a long time and said this, it would be asking for trouble. But in everything, it depends on the person. For Feng Jai, this would be the highest compliment. Because her biggest flaw was being too thin. And this compliment wasn't just pure flattery, it was the truth. Although Feng Jai was still thin, compared to their last parting, she had considerably more flesh on her face and wasn't so hauntingly thin. Feng Jai directly ignored the compliment in his words and got straight to the point. Why did you blindly enter Kun Kang without notifying us? Kun Kang is actually only so big. As long as I make a big enough fuss when I enter, wouldn't you know? But I didn't expect to run into you on the first day. Senior sister, we really are telepathic. Feng Jai lightly shook her head. Enough, clearly it was your reckless mistake, yet you could use such wonderful words to cover it up. Fine, whether it's telepathic or not, we've met now. What is your purpose in coming to Kun Kang this time? To explore Kun Kang's depths. Explore its depths. Yes. Did you consider? You already have some notoriety in Kun Kang, and that Kun Kang might want your life while you intend to explore its depths. Feng Jai's voice lowered. I've thought of that, responded Lin Zaiasu. Feng Jai's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Then, you still came. Precisely because I thought of this I came, said Lin Zaiasu. Any specific targets? Before coming in the target wasn't clear, but now it is, Lin Zaiasu stated, Zioao Palace. Feng Jai slowly lifted her head. Your target is very dangerous. Really? Zioao Palace is quite a major force within all of Kun Kang, equivalent in rank to our Shenghua Valley. Do you think I would need to wear a mask just to deal with their people otherwise? Wearing a mask while traversing the Jianghu isn't unusual, as many cultivators enjoy acting incognito, coming and going freely. However, when she brought it up specifically, the implication was clear. Shenghua Valley wasn't suited for a head-on clash with powerful forces like Zioao Palace. Senior sister, please tell me about Zioao Palace. The two walked along the riverfront, with Feng Jai elaborating on Zioao Palace. Presently, Zioao Palace is led by the palace master Dongfeng Lai, a person above the enlightenment realm, on par with our master in cultivation. Under him, there are 9 observing heaven cultivators. They are his 9 elders. The 3 who had just appeared were among the 9 elders. Don't underestimate the observing heaven level just because Feng Jai managed to face 3 and kill 1, making 2 others flee. Observing heaven cultivators come in different strengths. Of those 3, they were just at the initial realm of observing heaven. There are still 6 more, 3 of whom are at the middle stage of observing heaven and 3 at higher stages. The top strength of Shenghua Valley equals theirs, with 1 enlightenment realm and 8 observing heaven cultivators. However, the second tier is much weaker. Zioao Palace has over 300 observing earth realm cultivators, while Shenghua Valley barely has 100. Why is this? Because Shenghua Valley experienced a 300-year-long isolation. During this isolation, they missed out on new blood and numerous opportunities. As a result, power-wise, Zioao Palace currently eclipses Shenghua Valley. Does Zioao Palace have any enemies? Lin Zaiasu's eyes flickered. Enemies? Feng Jai was a bit surprised. I know in a place like Kun Kang, competing for resources and territory is inevitable. Which force is its biggest enemy? Feng Jai stepped by the river and slowly raised her eyes. You want to borrow the strength of its enemy to oppose Zioao Palace. In a world of forces forming alliances and rivalries, entering Kun Kang as an underling borrowing power is my first choice, Lin Zaiasu said. Strategically sound, but you might be disappointed, Feng Jai lightly sighed. In Kun Kang, forces, although competitive with each other, have achieved a balance over centuries. They understand the mutual destruction of weakening one another would make them prey for others. Thus, borrowing from rival forces to oppose a major force, while theoretically valid, is difficult to achieve, especially against Zioao Palace, which itself is a product of alliances and rivalries. Centuries ago, there were 3 major forces surrounding Zioao Palace. The west of Zioao Peak, Kangmeng Palace. To the east, Li Palace. To the south, Night Palace. Back then, Zioao Palace was at its most perilous. Surrounded by 3 forces, while holding a precious cultivation site, soul-dissolving abyss, it faced constant threat of annihilation. However, the Zayao saint heir of that generation was a genius. In the chaos, he made a brilliant move. He seduced the holy daughter of Kangmeng Palace, making her fall for him completely, thus opening the door for marriage alliances. Kangmeng Palace and Zayao Palace became in-laws. The Western threat was neutralized, leading to a chain reaction. The two allied forces grew strong, pushing Night Palace back 100 miles, forcing it into the southern swamp-restricted zone. The southern threat was neutralized. As for Li Palace to the east, his strategy was even more decisive. He secretly gained the loyalty of those close to the Li Palace master, and then poisoned the master with a rare, Judy, toxin during his secluded cultivation. The Li Palace master, an Enlightenment realm expert, should have been immune to poison, but this toxin suppressed his cultivation level. With the Enlightenment realm suppressed, the Zayao Palace master used his full might, killing the Li Palace master with one blow. Then, Zayao Palace forces crushed the Li Palace, taking over the Ancestor Valley and Li Ren Valley. With this move, Zayao Palace was truly safe. Teamed with in-laws to the west, guarded the south, occupied the east, eliminating all threats within a year. Chapter 269. Chapter 269, Zayao Yao Saint Dongfeng Zayao. Within a year, lift the annihilation crisis facing the three factions, then integrate resources to form a dominant palace. Lin Zaiasu sighed. This saint heir is a talent. Is he the current Zayao Yao Palace master Dongfeng Lai? In his opinion, such means are indeed fitting for a palace master. The story took place 100 years ago. Now it should be his turn to govern. Feng Jai shook her head. You are looking at the cultivation path with mundane eyes. 100 years in the cultivation path is but a fleeting instant. That legendary saint heir is named Dongfeng Zayao. He is still the saint heir of Zayao Palace because his father Dongfeng Lai is still alive. Additionally, Kun Kang has no opportunity for breakthrough cultivation. He has been stuck in the Peeping Heaven extreme realm for 30 years, unable to enter the Enlightenment realm. In Kun Kang, only those in the Enlightenment realm can serve as peak masters. Lin Zaiasu slowly raised his gaze. South Town South Swamp, Dongjian Li Mountain, connects to Kang Mang in the west. These cover only 3 sides. What about the north? The north is Kishui City, Feng Jai said. Kishui City is a marketplace. Marketplace, Lin Zaiasu knew. It's a place for trading goods. As long as we have human society, there is commodity trading. Kun Kang is no exception. The entire Kun Kang cannot be entirely partitioned by factions. If it were divided too finely, it would become rigid. Stepping wrong would mean crossing boundaries. In that case, there would be fights every day. Based on this, the 3 major upper sects proposed, and all major factions agreed to set up some marketplaces as buffer zones. Marketplaces do not belong to any single power, and various transactions occur here, while fighting is forbidden here. Thus, each major marketplace became the last haven for disciples of destroyed sects. Among them, Kishui City is the most unique. Most unique, Lin Zaiasu caught the word unique. Feng Jai elaborated. Kishui City's uniqueness lies in the fact that it has gathered too many people from Li Palace. After Li Palace was destroyed, the remaining disciples of Li Palace entered Kishui City to avoid the aftermath of the war. According to Kun Kang's consensus, large-scale warfare is forbidden in marketplaces. The disciples of Li Palace accepted the reality of their palace's destruction and entered the marketplace. From the perspective of Jianghu ethics, they should be given a way out. Originally, Zayao Palace also believed that Li Palace no longer posed a threat. They let down their guard. However, 5 years ago, a major event took place. While Zayao Palace disciples were wantonly enjoying themselves in Kishui City, they clashed with a local gang, and 3 of their members were killed by this gang. Upon investigation, Zayao Palace was taken aback. It turns out that everyone in this gang was from the former Li Palace. The resurgence of the former Li Palace was a serious matter. So, a Peeping Heaven elder from Zayao Palace led over 10 Peeping Earth experts into Kishui City to annihilate this brazen gang. However, a giant hand descended from the sky, lightly slapping the Peeping Heaven elder to death. Over 10 Peeping Earth experts stood there ashen-faced, watching a middle-aged man slowly emerge from the inner room. The middle-aged man said indifferently to the experts, "Tell Dongfeng Lai, my name is Lu Sanqian. Although the world has 3,000 paths, Zayao Palace has only 2 paths. Coexistence, where I remain in Kishui City and he in Zayao Palace, or confrontation where we both perish and let the future be decided by our successors. These words came from a newly risen giant of the Enlightenment realm in Kun Kang. This Enlightenment realm was the only newly risen one in the past 100 years. Nobody knows how he broke through to the Enlightenment realm, with no opportunity for breakthrough cultivation. Everyone only knew this was the son of the former Li Palace master. When Li Palace was at its peak, he stayed hidden from the public eye, enduring for nearly a century, and shocked Kun Kang upon his emergence. He had reached the Enlightenment realm. Even though his Enlightenment realm was newly broken, in comparison to the seasoned giants, he was still very young. But no matter how young, he was still a giant of the Enlightenment realm. To kill an Enlightenment realm, you need to trade another Enlightenment realm. Even though Dongfeng Lai could kill him, but this Lu Sanqian could drag Dongfeng Lai down from the Enlightenment realm with him as he died. Despite Lu Sanqian's remaining Li Palace faction being merely a few hundred scattered members, they were no threat to Xiao Palace, but you couldn't eradicate them completely. With no Enlightenment realm stepping forth, Lu Sanqian could destroy your army of thousands with a flip of his hand. If the Enlightenment realm steps forth, Lu Sanqian can die, but sorry Dongfeng Lai, you would fall from the realm. Once your realm falls, you cannot stand in Kun Kang anymore. This was Lu Sanqian's leverage. This was his strong retaliatory action after a century of endurance. Thus, the two sides formed a new tacit understanding. While Xiao Palace continued to oppress, bully, and provoke the disciples of Li Palace, there was a bottom line they dared not cross. Likewise, the disciples of Li Palace retaliated, but they too dared not cross the line. Gradually, Kishui City became a marketplace bearing the Li Palace tag, but one which couldn't openly display it. This was the unique aspect of this marketplace. Feng Jai spoke this history with a touch of sentiment. Lin Xiaosu's eyes brightened. Feng Jai chuckled softly. I saw a glimmer of hope in your eyes, but you must understand the forces of Li Palace can be leveraged, yet this force is too inferior to Xiao Palace. Acting rashly, you would send these hard-earned survivors to the guillotine. Power play dynamic balance Kun Kang is merely a few hundred miles in length, where dozens of forces interpret these games of power and balance vividly. How interesting, Lin Xiaosu said. Then let's break this balance. Us, Feng Jai's eyes glanced sideways. You're going to bind me into this. Binding comes with benefits, Lin Xiaosu smiled. If you accept the binding, I'll give you dividends. I can't represent Shenghua Valley. I know what you mean, don't worry, Lin Xiaosu said. Taking down a tiny Xiao Palace doesn't need the binding of the entire Shenghua Valley. I just need to bind you. Take down, Feng Jai's eyes widened suddenly. Yes, Lin Xiaosu said. Take down a grand sect guarded by a giant of the Enlightenment realm, a sect with a 1,000-year heritage. Oh my God, this. Feng Jai exhaled lightly. Why such madness? 3 reasons. Reason 1, the Rai Xiao Temple brings calamity to the country and people, and Xiao Palace is its backing power. By the laws of Daxia country, it should not exist. Reason 1 is for the country. Reason 2 must be for oneself. Feng Jai sighed lightly. Because they've already bared their fangs at you. If you don't destroy them, you'll have no peace, right? Martial sister Hui Da. I used to think I was quite wise, but now I feel a bit out of pace with you, junior brother. Reason 3. Lin Xiaosu said, Reason 3, to establish authority. Establish authority. Feng Jai could hardly believe her ears. Yes, I entered Kun Kang. Even the few low-life disciples of Chunshui sect dared to bully me. It's quite depressing. So, I plan to wipe out a major force, let all factions take me seriously at least. So they listen when I speak. A mere ant entered the immortal world. Still thinking of meeting the giants. Still thinking of having a voice. Is this boldness? Or stupidity? Feng Jai gently shook her head. I understand the reasons to remove Xiao Palace now. I fully accept them, but reasons aren't enough. Indeed, destroying a 1,000-year-old Kun Kang sect, 1,000 reasons won't suffice in the end. It's all about methods. Lin Xiaosu said, Martial sister, do you want to see my methods? Feng Jai murmured, can I not? All right, Martial sister, let's head into Kishui City. Kishui City, located downstream on this river. Traveling downstream, 100 miles away, there were blood-red rocks and mountains, red sand beaches below the mountains dyeing the river blood-red under the sunset. By the blood-red riverside stood an ancient city, with blue stone walls and green mountains as its backdrop. filled with pavilions and bustling activity. This was Kishui City. They entered Kishui City with a sunset's tale. Nonchalantly found a tavern, threw 5 kun coins down and had a meal. Threw another 5 kun coins and got a room. Feng Jai watched his fluid actions, felt somewhat dazed as she was led into the room. Though she was carefree and bold, she wanted to question this junior brother about the intent of immediately setting up a mixed-gender stay. Just don't say you want to mess around with me. If my skinny frame could spark improper desire in you, I would be speechless. Lin Zaiasu waited for her to settle down, then smiled lightly. Marshall's sister, I'm going out to gather information. Then, there was no then. He didn't return all night. No one knew that Lin Zaiasu was very busy that night. Even less known, his busyness was a craft, because his skill in disguise played out marvelously in this ancient city. In one night he changed 8 identities, appearing in taverns, brothels, markets, streets, and even in several special places, such as Xiao Palace's business house, Xiao Tower in Kishui City, such as Li Palace's century-old establishment, Li Renju. Multiple identities, using modern espionage techniques, gathering various pieces of information. The night quietly passed. By the next morning, he was still among the common people, until the sunset was about to end the day. Feng Jai's door was gently knocked on. She opened it to see a relaxed and content Lin Zaiasu. Judging by his relaxed demeanor, it seemed he had spent the night extravagantly at some brothel, but Feng Jai wasn't trivial enough to think so. She knew Lin Zaiasu wouldn't spend his energy like that. Marshall sister, I have good news, Lin Zaiasu said as he closed the door. What? Feng Jai's heart skipped a beat. You became famous, Lin Zaiasu said. If this world had trending searches, you would top the list. Though Feng Jai didn't understand trending searches, she got the gist. For she had gone out today too. She knew exactly what he meant. The Jianghu was already abuzz. Yesterday, by Chunshui River, a demon-faced witch with one swipe killed the 9th elder of Xiao Palace. This was the most sensational news in Jianghu. Chapter 270, trending on hot search. Some might say, Kun Kang is a place for cultivation, and people die here every day. Is it surprising for someone to die? It's not rare for many people to die, nor for entire families, households, or villages to be exterminated. However, the explosive point of yesterday's incident wasn't about the death of an ordinary person, but about the person who died being exceptional. Xiao Palace, a powerful faction. The 9th elder, a top-tier elder at the observing heaven level. In the absence of enlightenment realm cultivators, those at the observing heaven level can basically walk unchallenged. Have you ever seen an observing heaven cultivator get killed? Have you ever seen the top-tier elder of a significant faction get killed? Whether one can kill them is one thing. The courage to kill them is another. With Kun Kang's complex situation, a single move could affect everything. Who dares to directly target a top-tier elder of Xiao Palace? Therefore, once this incident occurred, the entire Kun Kang was shocked. Everyone speculated about who the demon-faced witch was. Was this assassination against Xiao Palace targeting the 9th elder personally, or Xiao Palace itself? It's not that the people of Kun Kang are overly sensitive. The key is that Kun Kang's situation is inherently extremely sensitive. Feng Jai's eyes gleamed. I made it to the trending topics, did you? Did you not make it? As the fringe material and catalyst of your heroic deeds, I naturally felt honored to hang onto your coattails and rise to fame. Lin Zaiasu slumped into a chair by the table, picked up the teapot, poured tea, drank tea. Feng Jai blinked slowly. In Jianghu, walking among the shadows inevitably places one at the edge of the storm. Let's not discuss this now. Tell me, have you gained anything in the past day and night? Yes. Feng Jai continued. How is the power of Li Palace? Adequate. Adequate. Feng Jai's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She hadn't been idle during the day. She also investigated the relevant powers, focusing on Li Palace's strength. Yet, the results were quite disappointing. Currently, besides the newly ascended Enlightenment Realm cultivator, Lu Sanqian, Li Palace has only 2 observing heaven masters, less than 50 observing earth-level cultivators, and a few hundred lower-tier disciples. Regardless, this force is insufficient to rival Xiao Palace. But Lin Zaiasu's answer was adequate. Feng Jai exhaled slowly. Is your plan scheme also adequate? Schemes cannot be evaluated as adequate, they can only be effective. Lin Zaiasu blinked. Feng Jai slowly reached out and lifted a cup of cold tea from the table, when to initiate. Now, where is the breakthrough point? Rousey Courtyard in the East City. Feng Jai's eyes slowly lifted, directing her gaze towards the increasingly dark East City. Rousey Courtyard, Lu Sanqian's daughter, Lu Rusi. Master, you know too, Lin Zaiasu smiled slightly. I haven't been idle today, Feng Jai stated. Lu Sanqian is very vigilant, knowing that he is Li Palace's only trump card against Zaiao Palace. He protects himself meticulously, rarely appearing. Even the high-ranking members of Li Palace are unaware of his secluded location. All external commands from Li Palace are issued from Rousey Courtyard. Exactly, Lin Zaiasu sighed slightly. Things in the world sometimes work similarly. The current situation of Li Palace is analogous to the nuclear deterrent strategies of the outside world. For years, a small country was oppressed and sanctioned by Yingyu country. Yet one day, this small country suddenly announced having nuclear weapons and became defiant. What can Yingyu country do about it? In terms of strength alone, this small country is far inferior to Yingyu country. However, it has nukes. If forced into a corner, wouldn't the barefoot fear the ones wearing shoes? No one can withstand its desperate nuclear explosion, so no one dares to corner it. But its nukes must be well protected. If discovered and eliminated, all its resistance and defense built on nuclear possession would be futile. The palace's only enlightenment realm cultivator, Lu Sanqian, is all the small country's nuclear weapons. Thus, he also protects himself. In usual times, no one knows his whereabouts. Yet everyone is under the shadow of his deterrence, which is the true essence of nuclear deterrence. The first stage has one last question. Feng Jai's eyes slowly moved over. Will Lu Rusi trust you? This question was direct, yet also very critical. In such a complex game, everyone in Li Palace is highly cautious. Would they trust an outsider who came from thousands of miles away, only to help Li Palace eliminate Zaiao Palace? Trust is a major issue. If trust is absent, why would they risk hundreds of lives in this grand venture? Lin Zaiasu smiled. If it were just me, they wouldn't trust me, but aren't you also here, Master? Feng Jai's eyes slowly widened. Master, the trending topics I mentioned earlier have their true purpose right here, Lin Zaiasu explained. All of Kun Kang knows that the demon-faced witch killed Zaiao Palace's top-tier elder. If this demon-faced witch appears before Lu Rusi, do you think she'd believe we are genuinely enemies of Zaiao Palace? Feng Jai hummed softly. So you brought me to Kishui City for this reason, to use me as your pledge for trust. Regret it, Lin Zaiasu glanced at her. A little. You might regret it now, but later you absolutely won't regret it, Lin Zaiasu stated. Doing this means Shenghua Valley will reap enormous benefits, and you'll be the greatest hero of Shenghua Valley. Even if you draw a big picture, it should have boundaries, right? Feng Jai glared at him. What does this have to do with Shenghua Valley? Don't blindly drag Shenghua Valley into this. Master hasn't had it easy, sealing himself for hundreds of years, barely taking a breath. If you ruin me, I'll accept it. It means bad luck. But don't harm Master. Master, it's unfair for you to say that. It makes me sound like a villain. Let me tell you, I have a nickname outside called Pure Young Master, and I am generally considered a good person. Feng Jai rolled her eyes and burst into laughter. All right, Pure Young Master, let's go ruin Miss Lu Rusi tonight. Let's go. East City under the night sky. A small building stands beside the bluestone alley. The building is quite old, showing signs of age. A golden osmanthus tree grows through the wall, hiding several spots of wear. The green wood door has many patches of peeling paint, and the old copper ring glows faintly under the dim starlight. Tonight the clouds hang low. The starlight appears briefly and then fades. Everything is silent. Suddenly, two figures walk shoulder to shoulder down the bluestone alley and stop before the courtyard gate. The first, wearing a small melon cap and dressed in a purple long gown, is Lin Zaiasu. The second, clad in black Zhonghu attire, a strange mask on her face, incredibly bewitching yet eerie. She is Feng Jai. At this moment, Feng Jai mirrors the image seen outside Chunshui sect, the very image discussed throughout the city. Lin Zaiasu raised his hand, took hold of the copper ring and tapped lightly. Thud, thud, thud. The sound was muffled. About a minute later, the bolt is drawn back, and an old man slowly opens the gate, his vigilant eyes fixating on Lin Zaiasu's face. "Might I ask who this young master is?" "I am Lin Zaiasu, here specifically to meet your esteemed lady." "Coming to seek my lady at such an hour, does the young master not think?" The old man's voice suddenly stopped as he stared at the figure in the shadows. This figure escaped his notice initially. With the door now open, he could observe with his naked eye. The old man's gaze was drawn to the bewitching face, his heart leaping. Demon-faced. Demon-faced witch. This is my senior sister, Lin Zaiasu said. "Elder, you should understand that our visit to meet your lady comes with goodwill and sincerity." The old man's expression shifted rapidly. "Guests are here, they should be welcomed. Young master, lady, please come inside." He moved aside, allowing Lin Zaiasu and Feng Jai to step into the courtyard. The gate closed behind them. The old man turned to Lin Zaiasu. "Young master, lady, please enter the Gui Hall for tea. I will inform the lady." With a gesture, two maids appeared, guiding Lin Zaiasu and Feng Jai to a lit side hall. The old man then disappeared upstairs to the right and gently pushed open a door. Inside, a girl in a white dress was pulling her gaze back from the distant sky. "Uncle Chi, who are the visitors?" "A man and a woman." The man reported his name as Lin Zaiasu. "Lin Zaiasu," the girl frowned slightly. "I don't recall hearing this name before. Which sect or school does he belong to?" "His origins aren't important. What matters is the woman with him. She appears to be the demon-faced witch." The girl's eyes suddenly brightened. "Appears. A mask isn't proof enough, but with my cultivation, I can't gauge her limits." "With your observing heaven cultivation, yet you can't discern her limits," the girl exclaimed. "It should be highly probable." "Will you meet them?" "Given Li Palace's current situation, we must be cautious and guard against enemy infiltration," the girl said. "But no one would infiltrate by first attacking their own kin. If she truly is the demon-faced witch, she's worthy of our acquaintance. Kun Kang's situation is complex. One can recognize faces but not hearts." In the darkness, two strangers entered Li Palace's secure territory. Naturally, trust wouldn't come easily. However, there is one exception. That's the demon-faced witch. Having just killed Zioao Palace's top-tier elder, her hostility towards Zioao Palace is undeniable. Many people prove their stance by killing, but it depends on who they kill. If the person was on Zioao Palace's side, they wouldn't kill a top-tier elder just to prove their stance. The cost is too high. Thus, she's undoubtedly Zioao Palace's enemy. Enemy Identification Protocol. The enemy's enemy could be a friend. Inside the Gui Hall, two maids served fragrant tea and then withdrew. Lin Zaiasu surveyed the Gui Hall. In ancient times, esteemed families had a Gui Hall, with Gui symbolizing noble character. The Gui Hall thus became a place for receiving esteemed guests. However, this Gui Hall felt quite shabby. The floor was old with visible patching. The windows were old with visible patching. The table was old, recently repainted. The chairs were old, though recently bolstered with new nails, still felt unstable. The initial impression might be that the room was grand. But under the scrutiny of the heavenly Tao wisdom eye, Lin Zaiasu felt it resembled a fallen prestigious family, diligently maintaining its former glory. Chapter 271. Chapter 271. The Lu family has a daughter gentle as silk. The door gently opened, and a maid entered with a lantern, bowing at the door. A young woman in a purple dress walked in gracefully, crossing the threshold. "I'm Lu Rusi. Both esteemed guests have waited long." Lu Rusi's voice was as soft as silk. "Visiting late at night is indeed abrupt. Miss Lu did not reject us and met us in person. Lin Zaiasu is grateful." Lin Zaiasu bowed slightly. "Please have a seat, young Master Lin." "Sister, please sit." Lu Rusi sat in the main seat. The maid poured a cup of tea for her and then bowed out, closing the door behind her. Feng Jai raised her eyes slightly and saw the old man. The old man stood 10 meters outside the room, a peeping heaven master personally on guard. "Why has young Master Lin come overnight?" Lu Rusi got to the point. "If I say I came to ease Mrs. Worries, would you believe me?" Lin Zaiasu lifted the teacup, his eyes slowly raising. "Easing my worries. Thank you for your kindness, young master." Lu Rusi smiled gently. "But does the young master know what worries me?" "The homeland cannot hold the body. A foreign land cannot hold the soul," Lin Zaiasu said. "This is Mrs. Worry." Lu Rusi felt a slight stir in her heart. The homeland cannot hold the body. A foreign land cannot hold the soul. What a refined phrase from you, young master, but how can one resolve these worries? 100 years ago, Ancestor Valley was occupied, and 9 out of 10 clan members perished. The remnants scattered across the world, humble as floating duckweed. I believe the Lee Palace's members harbor deep resentment. At the dawn of the Lee Palace, they still had ambitions, but after a century wears on, does that spirit remain? And if it does, Lou Rusi's gaze slowly lifted. If that spirit remains, then we should reignite the ancestors' ambition, with a do-or-die resolve, to sweep away the invaders and reclaim our land. Lou Rusi's heart raced. Is the young master willing to assist me? Lin Asu smiled lightly. If I were not willing to help, why would I visit at night? Who exactly is the young master? An outsider. Outsider, Lou Rusi was greatly surprised. Yes, in front of Miss I will be candid. I am from the outside world and I am a mortal enemy of Zioil Palace. Our meeting tonight is to aim at Zioil Palace, whether for the Lee Palace or for myself, Lin Asu. Lou Rusi asked, what kind of deep-seated grudge do you have with Zioil Palace? To call it a deep-seated grudge may be excessive. Simply put, I united with Qianlong in the outside world to destroy the accursed De Rai Zioil Temple, which triggered Zioil Palace's ire. They want to eliminate me as quickly as possible. My principle has always been that weeds must be uprooted. Today outside Chunchui Palace, the 3 elders of Zioil Palace showed up. Their target was you, wasn't it? Lin Asu nodded lightly. If it weren't for my senior sister's intervention, I'd likely have perished by the Chunchui River by now. Lou Rusi exhaled deeply. The young master's candor clears up everything. I believe you. However, as far as I know, it is very difficult for external forces to enter Kun Kang. What method does the young master have to facilitate such a breakthrough? This is the critical question. You've made me believe your feud with Zioil Palace. It's true that Zioil Palace came to Chunchui Palace today, and that your senior sister killed them. This serves as verification. Our initial positions seem aligned. However, merely having a shared position isn't enough. We need strength. While you evidently possess power in the outside world, it needs to enter Kun Kang. If not, sitting here and dreaming of toppling Zioil Palace is a joke. Lin Asu slightly shook his head. External forces cannot enter Kun Kang. They are not in our stratagem. Lou Rusi was startled. Are you relying only on yourself and this sister, along with our forces? Yes. Lou Rusi took a deep breath. Are you aware, even allied, we're like eggs thrown against stones against Zioil Palace? Not only the peeping heaven elder outside was deeply concerned by this statement, but Feng Jai too. Lin Asu said, when strength is insufficient, one can borrow strength. You borrow my strength, I borrow yours. Together we are still insufficient. Then whose strength shall we borrow? Lou Rusi asked. For example, the heavens. The heavens? Lou Rusi's brows furrowed sharply. Feng Jai's heart thudded. Borrow strength from the heavens. Lin Asu smiled slightly. Array path, borrowing the might of heaven and earth, crafting the wonders of the world, is the tool for triumphing with the weak over the strong. Array path, Lou Rusi's eyes suddenly brightened. Does the young master master the array path? Feng Jai suddenly spoke. This question I can answer. Lou Rusi looked at Feng Jai with some surprise. Feng Jai had been silent the entire night, almost like a shadow. But now she spoke up. Feng Jai met her gaze. My junior's proficiency in the array path can rival the master of Yin-Yang Temple. The Yin-Yang Temple master. The foremost array master of Kun Kang. It was he who, at the request of the Heavenly Beauty Palace master, set up the deadly array in Shenghua Valley, sealing this major power for 300 years. Young master's cultivation in the array path at such a young age, this, Lou Rusi's face flushed. Miss probably finds it hard to believe, right? Let me tell you a fact to help you understand. Feng Jai said, the locking immortal array in Shenghua Valley was broken by my junior. The life and death door sealed for 300 years was opened by him. Whoosh! Lou Rusi stood up, bowing deeply. I underestimated young master's talent. I will now inform my father to discuss this in detail. Much obliged. Lin Asu also stood, bowing slightly. With a swoosh, Lou Rusi vanished from the room. Lin Asu turned his gaze to Feng Jai. Senior sister, did you discern her cultivation level? The voice was very soft. Feng Jai replied, common rumor has it that Lee Palace's remaining members have only 2 in the observing heaven realm. But now it seems there are more. The one outside and this miss are two. The Li Palace Master and a young Palace Master must also be in observing heaven. It's excellent that our allies' strength exceeds expectation. Feng Jai said, do you really intend to reveal your proficiency in the array path? I understand your concern, exposing it has repercussions, but in the world there are pros and cons. Revealing it aligns with my third essential point, establishing prestige. Prestige. Feng Jai heard the audacious word again. The first time she heard it, she was speechless. Out of courtesy, she did not scold him. You, a little ant not even in observing heaven, dare speak of establishing prestige in Kun Kang, afraid of making people laugh. But hearing it today, the feeling was entirely different. The power of the array path is beyond human measurement. If he and the remnants of Li Palace join forces, they genuinely might severely impact Xiao Palace. After that day, all of Kun Kang would know of an array path genius. They would listen to his voice. Because this genius isn't one to be manipulated easily, he could ally with enemies for a fatal strike at any moment. Who could withstand that? His prestige might indeed take root. This shift in confidence itself was incredible. Suddenly, the sky's clouds seemed to darken. It possibly felt like a momentary illusion. In the next instant, another sensation surfaced in their hearts. An additional person stood outside the door. They exchanged glances, moving their gaze to the door simultaneously. The door opened, and a scholarly man in white stepped in. The scholar, about 40 to 50 years old, with 3 long streaks of beard, had a face like carved jade. Although no longer young, he still exuded an elegant and unrestrained demeanor. If anything on his face contradicted this demeanor, it would undoubtedly be his eyes. His eyes had seen countless vicissitudes. This person could only be a prominent figure of this Li Palace generation, Lu Sanqian. I am Lu Sanqian. Greetings to the young master and this lady. Lu Sanqian bowed slightly. Lin Ziasu and Feng Jai stood simultaneously. How can juniors accept the salute of Lord Lu? The Li Palace has been destroyed for 100 years. Without the palace, there is no master's respect, Lu Sanqian said. If the heart remains, the path remains. If the Li people's initial intention is unchanged, the Li Palace will eventually be restored. If the heart remains, the path remains. Thanks for the auspicious words, young master, Lu Sanqian bowed again. Young master, miss, please be seated. They sat again and all personnel outside withdrew, swapping roles within the room. Lu Sanqian sat at the chief's seat, with Lu Rusi personally pouring tea for them. So the young master wishes to use the array path to assist us, Lu Sanqian asked directly. As I have mentioned to Miss Lu, assisting you is assisting myself, Lin Ziasu said. How so exactly? Everyone turned their eyes to Lin Ziasu. Lin Ziasu asked, does the Li Palace have array crystals? Array crystals of Kun Kang, 9 out of 10 are collected by Yin Yang Valley. Those outside are rare. I have merely 100. That will be sufficient, said Lin Ziasu. Lu Sanqian was overjoyed. 100 array crystals enough. When he received the message that an array master was visiting, his heart was both glad and wary. He knew an array master's power relied on array crystals, and he had gathered only 100 over the past century. Clearly, it wasn't enough. This material was monopolized by Yin Yang Temple, and it was exceedingly hard to obtain more from the outside. But now, Lin Ziasu declared that 100 crystals were sufficient. The first significant hurdle was thus overcome. What else does the young master need? 36 array bases. Lu Sanqian's initial joy turned to disappointment. 36 people, are they required to be above the observing Earth realm? If they needed to be above observing Earth, this plan would end before it started. He couldn't muster 36 observing Earth. 36 observing Earth, what a notion. Usually, a major power has no more than 10 observing Earth. Gathering 36 observing Earth would require the combined strength of 3 major powers. If he could do that, how could Xiao Palace continue to suppress them for so long? If we had 36 observing heaven, the power would be vastly different, but I see even Lord Lu can't gather 36 observing heaven, so we must lower the standard. 36 observing Earth will suffice. Lu Sanqian's confidence reignited. 36 observing Earth is no problem. However, young master mentioned lowering the standard. What would the power be like? Chapter 272. Chapter 272. Array path is also wisdom. We can blockade Xiao Peak for 1 day and 1 night. Blockade, Lu Sanqian furrowed his brows tightly. Only one day and one night. Feng Jia's face also showed slight changes. They were not amazed at the power of the array. On the contrary, they were disappointed. A blockade is not a slaughter. Blockade cannot harm the foundation of Xiao Palace. Only one day and one night, it's even more disheartening. When facing such a large force's attack, once the battle begins, can a result really be decided in a mere day and night? Your blockade lasts only a day and night, they sleep for a night, and your array is useless. Does this blockade have any meaning? This blockade is meaningless. Lin Ziasu raised his eyes and smiled faintly. Additionally, Lord Lu needs to be aware of another matter. Please speak directly, young master. This array cannot blockade Enlightenment Realm experts. With these words, the three people present were all struck cold. It's just a blockade, it can't harm anyone. The time is only one day and one night. At worst, they won't mess with you. Calmly sleep and wait for your array crystal energy to be exhausted. Now there's another point. You can't even block Enlightenment Realm. If an Enlightenment Realm expert appears, they could sweep through the array bases around the mountain peak, eliminating all 36 so-called experts handling the array bases in moments. How can your formation sustain then? Is this a plan? Isn't this clearly a joke? Lu Sanqian's face was extremely somber. Young master, please forgive this old man's dullness. I cannot see any use of this array in the battle situation. This was putting it politely. Lin Ziasu said, the function of this array is not in the blockade, but precisely the opposite, in breaking the blockade. What do you mean? The three people in the room were all confused. It was clearly a blockade array, but its purpose was not to blockade but to break the blockade. Lin Ziasu smiled faintly. People below the Enlightenment Realm cannot leave this array, that is the blockade. But Enlightenment Realm experts can't be blocked, they can break it. However, breaking the array comes at a cost. Cost? What kind of cost? Within a quarter of an hour, their true yuan will be impacted by the array, rendering them unable to utilize their Enlightenment Realm battle power. This is the cost of breaking the array. Lu Sanqian suddenly looked up. His eyes suddenly brightened. Lin Ziasu stared into his eyes. In the past, how did Dongfeng Lai of Xiao Palace deal with the former palace master of Li Palace? Today we will deal with him in the same way. This is called the cycle of karma. Retribution is merciless. Lu Sanqian slowly closed his eyes. In the past, his father's Li Palace was also a sect with an Enlightenment Realm expert. A sect with an Enlightenment Realm expert in the Kun Kang territory was like a country with nuclear weapons. It had a nuclear deterrent effect. If the Enlightenment Realm is not removed, the war to destroy the sect cannot be started. Otherwise, no one can withstand the mutual destruction of the Enlightenment Realm. So the other side persuaded a high-ranking elder of Li Palace, and while his father was in seclusion, they poisoned him with Judy, causing his father to lose his Enlightenment Realm battle power. Dongfeng Lai took action and killed his father. Then they flattened Li Palace, leaving 100 years of hatred. Today, an array appears to blockade Xiao Peak, but in fact, the blockade itself is meaningless, and the short time of a day and a night is even less meaningful. However, Lin Ziasu's real target on the chessboard was not the blockade itself, but directly targeting Dongfeng Lai, the only Enlightenment Realm expert. This large array, after all the efforts, has only one ultimate purpose: to blockade Dongfeng Lai's Enlightenment Realm battle power for a quarter of an hour. In ancient times, Tianjai's horse racing strategy, using the inferior horse against the superior horse against the mid-grade horse, the mid-grade horse against the inferior horse, 3 rounds and 2 wins. Lu Sanqian's eyes slowly opened, and the young master's wisdom is one further step on this ancient famous game, directly lowering the opponent's superior horse to a mid-grade horse. Our superior horse hunts it down. Our mid-grade horse hunts the opponent's inferior horse. If this were 3 rounds, the young master did not plan to lose even 1 round. Lin Ziasu laughed heartily. Lord Lu has understood. Lu Sanqian also laughed heartily, but his laughter mysteriously echoed only within this small room. The sound waves did not leak out at all. This is the power of Enlightenment Realm. True essence transformation, present everywhere. Transformed into a hand, it can split mountains and open cities. Transformed into a curtain, it can block sound transmission. Feng Jia and Lu Rusi exchanged glances, both seeing joy in each other's eyes. They were not fools either. They understood the real secret of this array. This array is a blockade array. The power borrowed from the heavenly Tao is indeed terrifying, but the actual effect it can exert is very limited. Fortunately, this is not really an array path, but within the realm of wisdom path. Because Lin Zaiasu never intended to use the array to create destructive damage to Zioil Palace. In fact, he couldn't. He only wanted Dongfeng Lai himself to knock Dongfeng Lai out of the Enlightenment realm for a quarter of an hour. Although it's only a quarter of an hour, it's enough time for Lu Sanqian to kill him. Lu Sanqian would kill their only Enlightenment realm expert. Then it would be their turn to use Enlightenment realm battle power to carry out a dimensional reduction strike on the Observing Heaven realm experts. He could annihilate all the Observing Heaven experts of the other side with just a wave of his hand. Then their own Observing Heaven experts would enter the field, carrying out another dimensional reduction strike, suppressing all of the Observing Earth experts of the other side. This is the replica of Tianjai's horse racing strategy. This is a series of dimensional reduction strikes in Kun Kang. Young master, how should we proceed? Please give your instructions. Lu Sanqian stood up and bowed again. This bow was exceptionally solemn, for he had truly glimpsed the hope of breaking the situation. Lu Rusi also stood up and bowed. The positioning of the array bases is very important. Lord Lu needs to take me to the sky to observe Zioil Peak. Good. Lu Sanqian raised his hand and grabbed Lin Zaiasu's shoulder. The next moment, they flew straight into the deep sky. In the room, Lu Rusi slightly bowed towards Feng Jai. Sister, please wait here for a moment. I will go fetch the array crystals. In the sky, the clouds hung low. Lin Zaiasu stood on the floating clouds, standing in midair. Standing in midair was not something he could do at this stage. Even at a higher level, it would still be impossible. Only Enlightenment realm could truly stand in the void. He could stand in the void because true essence transformation under Lu Sanqian's feet formed a huge back of a foot, and Lin Zaiasu stepped on this back, thus also standing in the void. This operation no one knew about. Even though there was Dongfeng Lai, an Enlightenment realm expert on Zioil Peak, he was too far away to sense the true essence aura of Lu Sanqian. The sky was completely dark. Everywhere was misty. There were floating clouds obstructing the view. Young Master Lin, can you see clearly? Do you need this old man to get closer? Lu Sanqian asked. No need to take risks getting closer, I can see clearly. Lin Zaiasu reached out his hand, and in the space, the dragon eye emerged and was put on his face. Lu Sanqian instinctively believed that these eyes were the key, magical artifact that allowed Lin Zaiasu to see through the dark mist, but he would never have thought that Lin Zaiasu's eyesight alone was truly unparalleled in the world. Darkness could not block the heavenly Tao wisdom eye. Mist could not block it. Floating clouds could not block it. The dragon eye for him was merely a key part of the next step. Lin Zaiasu looked towards Zioil Peak. On Zioil Peak, there were pavilions and towers with a myriad of auspicious signs. There were at least 4,000 to 5,000 people, or even 10,000 people. To the west of Zioil Peak, a tall peak loomed, seemingly infinitely high, that was likely the daughter-in-law's family of Zioil Peak, Kangming Palace. To the south, there were desolate mountains and evil waters, shrouded in mist, with a vast marshland hidden within the mist, that was the South Swamp. To the east, he was slightly surprised. At the foot of the eastern mountain, there was a valley that stood out starkly against the green-hued Kang Mountain at this moment. This valley didn't have any greenery at all. Not a single blade of grass grew. It was like a deathly valley. A valley so utterly dead he had never seen before. Lord Lu, could that valley be the former forbidden land of Li Palace, Li Ren Valley? Li Ren Valley was a place name he had found during his investigation the previous night. There was a popular legend that there was a Li Ren Valley in the former Li Palace, where not a single blade of grass grew. But the common people only knew this much. They had no idea why not a single blade of grass grew. Today, from the high altitude, observing this valley from a god's eye view, the legend proved to be absolutely true. Not a single blade of grass grew. Lu Sanqian said, Li Ren Valley was the place where the 3 ancestors of the former Li Palace comprehended the sword, leaving behind 3 sword marks. Sword chi pervades the entire valley, so not a single blade of grass grows. Therefore, it is the sacred ground for Li Palace's heavenly pride to comprehend the sword. If our great wish is fulfilled, the young master might as well enter this valley with your senior sister to comprehend. Not a single blade of grass grows, not because it's a deathly place, but rather a sacred place. This is the wonder of the cultivation path. Further east, the skyline was crowded with temples, radiating a sacred aura. What's that place? Which power does it belong to? Lu Sanqian said, that place is the Three Buddha Temple. Three Buddha Temple, one of the top forces in Kun Kang. Yes, Kun Kang has 83 peaks, with each peak being an independent sect. Although they visually seem to hold equal status, there are differences in reality. The universally acknowledged upper three sects are the Three Buddha Temple, the Yin-Yang Temple, and the Luonian Heaven. There are no middle sects or lower sects, but universally acknowledged upper sects. Three Buddha Temple, what's the meaning behind this name? Lin Zaiasu asked. The name of a sect can sometimes reveal some information. For example, the Three Buddha Temple, understanding which three Buddhas they worship could roughly judge the path taken by this Buddha temple. Lu Sanqian said, the three Buddhas of the Three Buddha Temple have two interpretations. The more widely accepted interpretation in the Jianghu is, the Three Buddha Temple has three Enlightenment Realm experts, equivalent to three Buddhas. Three Enlightenment Realms, Lin Zaiasu was slightly stunned. Their strength is that formidable. That's why it ranks among the upper three sects. Kun Kang's 83 peaks, the vast majority of them have one Enlightenment Realm per peak. With an Enlightenment Realm guarding, the peak can stand firm. Because no one can bear the mutual destruction of an Enlightenment Realm, everyone is apprehensive to retaliate. However, this logic does not apply in front of the upper three sects. The Three Buddha Temple has three Enlightenment Realms. The Yin-Yang Temple has two. Luonian Heaven also has three. The additional one or two Enlightenment Realms are not just a mere doubling of strength, it is a qualitative change. What does this mean? They dare to flip the table while others don't. If they get severely provoked, they may sacrifice an Enlightenment Realm to destroy your sect. What would you do? They lose an Enlightenment Realm but still have another one or two. Their sect continues to exist. And you? Only having one Enlightenment Realm, if it gets sacrificed, your entire sect is doomed. This is the quantity changing into quality. Lord Lu said this is one interpretation. What about the other? Lin Zaiasu asked. Lu Sanqian said, the other interpretation might be derived from their doctrines. The monks of the Three Buddha Temple say, the three Buddhas of the Three Buddha Temple are one Buddha Heaven, two Buddha Earth, and three Buddha Self. Buddha Heaven manifests their highness, Buddha Earth manifests their compassion, Buddha Self manifests their power. Buddha in this context means using / as Buddha, using heaven as Buddha, using earth as Buddha, using oneself as Buddha. Chapter 273. Chapter 273, Feng Jai needs to be utilized again. Lin Zaiasu smiled softly. I've already seen it, let's proceed. Silently, Lu Sanqian stepped down from the sky and returned to the small house. Outside the house, there were 37 people. Stood still in the courtyard, like 36 stone sculptures. At the front was a man around 30 years old, refined and elegant, who was Lu Sanqian's son, Lu Rufeng. Son Rufeng, daughter Rusi. They appeared refined, but what they reflected was also the bleakness of fate. In the former Li Palace, 100 years of sorrow, human life was as fragile as grass, like silk in the wind. Young Master Lin, all the array crystals are here and everyone you need is also brought. What to do next, please instruct us, young Master Lin. Lu Rusi bowed gracefully. I'll go inside to prepare. Inside the room there were two other people, the Peeping Heaven Elder and Feng Jai. In front of them was a pile of array crystals. Array crystals were a peculiar type of crystal stone, formed in the gaps of the heavenly Tao, most capable of communication. Array crystals with engravings form arrays and connect with the heavenly Tao's power, where everything becomes possible. This was the basic understanding everyone had about arrays. However, few knew how the array patterns were engraved and how the arrays were formed. Today, Lin Zaiasu would open a brand new window on his cultivation path, array formation. In Shenghua Valley, he broke the array. And today, he would form an array. Breaking an array and forming an array are completely different domains. There are countless ways to break an array. But there is one essential for forming an array. The person forming the array must be a true array master. Lin Zaiasu picked up the hexagonal array crystal on the table. This array crystal wasn't particularly good, its quality was rather average, but it was still quite beautiful. "Young master, I'll stand guard outside," said the elder as he exited the room. The door closed from outside. Everyone stood around the room, looking outward. This was respect and etiquette. Array master engravings cannot be observed by others. Inside the room, there were only Lin Ziasu and Feng Jai. Feng Jai raised her eyes and looked at Lin Ziasu, asking with her gaze if she should avoid it too. Lin Ziasu gently shook his head. "Senior sister, you don't have to. After all, in Shenghua Valley we were together." Shenghua Valley was where his array formation journey started. In fact, to be honest, without being too far-fetched, Lin Ziaosu's array path actually benefited from Feng Jai. If it weren't for Feng Jai teaching him how to recognize ancient text, he wouldn't have been able to decode the circulation array left by the ancient array sect. But Feng Jai would never think of this, as her demeanor was always cold. Lin Ziaosu brought out the bronze pen and engraved the first pattern. As the first engraving was completed, the array crystal began to change. The lines carved by the bronze pen played out wondrous lights under the candle flame. 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, until 36. Lin Ziaosu stretched out his hand. The bronze pen vanished from his palm, his gaze lifted, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The entire process took less than an hour. Feng Jai glanced from the 36 array crystals on the table to his face. "Is it done?" "It's done." This array, compared to the immortal locking array that sealed Shenghua Valley back then, which is superior? Arrays are not about superiority, but about suitability. Purely in terms of array power, the immortal locking array was far superior to the present array in countless ways. This array couldn't confine those in the Enlightenment realm, while the immortal locking array confined Hua Maioi, who was a genuine Enlightenment realm cultivator, and she couldn't escape. This array could only last a day and a night, while the immortal locking array could last 300 years. If Lin Ziaosu hadn't broken it, it could easily last another 300 years. Does this mean the immortal locking array is more advanced? It's not comparable this way. You bring the immortal locking array to Xiao Peak, and it won't be effective. Why? Firstly, the immortal locking array requires extensive construction to establish the array platform. Can you undertake extensive construction under Xiao Peak's watch? Secondly, the immortal locking array can only block one side. Shenghua Valley is shaped like a bottle gourd with just one opening, hence it can be sealed. Try sealing Xiao Peak. There's simply no way. The path of array formation tests adaptability the most. It has no difference in superiority, only suitability. Feng Jai nodded lightly. "The people outside have waited a long time. Shall we start the setup?" "Lord Lu, let them all come in," Lin Ziaosu spoke. Led by Lu Sanqian, 39 people entered the room. The room was crowded. Yet there was no noise. Everyone's eyes were filled with eagerness. Everyone is gathered, the array crystals are engraved. Now is the final step, forming the array, Lin Ziaosu said. This array formation is extraordinary because we are essentially completing this millennial feat right under Xiao Palace's nose. Hence, no one must make a single mistake. I'll explain the specific operations. Everyone must pay close attention. Everyone held their breath, completely still. Lin Ziaosu raised his hand, and the 36 array crystals he had just engraved flew towards the 36 individuals. Array formation requires strict positioning. Lin Ziaosu raised his hand, activating the Dragon Eye. The Dragon Eye projected high-resolution photos taken from the sky into the room. The Dragon Eye was truly remarkable. Not only were the photos detailed, it also offered holographic projection with adjustable size, exuding a technological feel. Everyone's eyes lit up. Such a projection method had never been seen before, because this was modern technology. However, they were all familiar with the scene before their eyes, Xiao Peak. I will mark the positions of the array bases on this projection. Lord Lu, divide the people to ensure each position has one person. When the time comes, activate simultaneously. Forming an array is an extremely complex process, and also a highly detailed one. Positions cannot be incorrect. Everyone must not make mistakes. If one person errs, the array cannot be complete and thus won't be effective at all. If the array fails, and Xiao Palace becomes alerted, they will undoubtedly crush the Li Palace with overwhelming force. Therefore, this is an extreme strategy, a path to life through death. This is a delicate scheme, where one person's mistake will ruin everything. The 36 took the command. Everyone's faces showed expressions of solemn resolution. 100-year plan had come down to the final step. In the dire situation, finally seeing a glimmer of hope ignited the fervent hearts of these Lee Palace elites. Lin Zaiasu finished explaining. Lu Rusi stepped forward. Uncles and elders, you used to gather firewood and hunt under Zioao Peak. Tomorrow, you might still gather firewood and hunt. Lu Rufeng nodded. Sister's idea is excellent. Change clothes, take the woodcutting knife, disperse and silently move to the assigned positions, wait for orders. Yes, the 36 answered the command in unison. Lu Sanqian looked at Lin Zaiasu. Young Master Lin, is there anything else you need us to do? Everyone here are seasoned masters. There is no need for extra instructions from me. Just do as planned. Tomorrow morning disguise and leave the city. Ensure you are in position before noon and activate at noon sharp. We follow the young master's command. The 36 seasoned masters replied without hesitation. Lu Rusi stepped forward and came to Lin Zaiasu. Young Master Lin, sister, you two have worked hard all night. Please come to the guest room to rest. The guest room was already open. As they reached the guest room, it seemed like a gust of wind had blown through, causing the people in the courtyard to vanish without a trace. Two maids brought supper. Lin Zaiasu ate supper and went to bed. Last night he hadn't slept. Tonight he had stayed up for half the night again. Although he had built the blood tower, and his energy was still up, facing the crucial battle tomorrow, he decided to have a good night's sleep. He got into bed and quickly fell asleep. At dawn, the birds, chirping in Kishui City, woke Lin Zaiasu from his sleep. Birds chirping existed in every world. Though in the modern world, bird chirping had become rare. Lin Zaiasu opened his eyes, feeling his mind clear as if washed by water. Everything was ready, and his key move to enter Kunkang was to be initiated today. A gentle knock on the door echoed. Lin Zaiasu opened the door and saw Feng Jai. At this moment, without a mask, Feng Jai held a tray and smiled brightly. The maid was going to bring you breakfast, but I intercepted it because I have something to ask you. Ask away, Lin Zaiasu smiled. Feng Jai placed the tray before him. First, have your meal. I don't want to disturb your appetite. Lin Zaiasu ate his meal. Feng Jai closed the door. After breakfast, a cup of tea was handed to him. Feng Jai slowly raised her head. Your brilliant plan presented last night was indeed exquisite. However, there is one huge variable within it, do you realize? Senior sister, please tell. Lin Zaiasu lifted his teacup. Feng Jai said, the array in Zioao Palace truly targets Dongfeng Lai. However, Dongfeng Lai is no fool. If he doesn't fall for your trick, the entire plan will be ruined. While saying this, Feng Jai's expression was very serious. This hidden worry wasn't only hers, it was shared by Lu Rusi as well. When Lin Zaiasu hadn't yet woken up, Lu Rusi had already approached Feng Jai to raise this concern. The two girls had analyzed the issue together and felt uncertain. They wanted to bring it up to Lin Zaiasu immediately. However, since he was sleeping, they didn't want to disturb him. Now that he was awake, Feng Jai brought it up at once. Watching Lin Zaiasu's reaction closely, Feng Jai saw no change in his expression as he continued drinking tea. Such a calm expression. While not completely reassuring, it did provide a bit of comfort, as at least his face didn't change color, indicating that the issue was not an unexpected blow to him. Feng Jai breathed lightly. Zioao Palace is a large palace with strong crisis awareness. Learning that their sect's main peak is surrounded by a grand array would certainly cause chaos and panic. Based on conventional judgment, if the elders cannot break the array and discern the cause, the sect master, as the only one capable of escaping the grand array, should make a heroic effort to break out, at least to see what's happening. This is your reason for believing that Dongfeng Lai will surely break out, right? A long explanation was the result of Feng Jai and Lu Rusi's discussion. By usual analysis, Dongfeng Lai should break out, because that aligns with the philosophy of the sect. However, there's no rule stating that one must follow conventional paths. This was why their confidence was shaky. Lin Zaiasu smiled. Based on conventional judgment, there's an 80% chance that Dongfeng Lai will break out. 80%, is that enough? Feng Jai asked. Absolutely not enough, Lin Zaiasu replied. So, Feng Jai's heart pounded. So we must add an incentive. An incentive how? Lin Zaiasu said. At noon, senior sister, wear your mask and strike, destroy Zioao Tower. Chapter 274, Chapter 274, Sword Beheads Xiao Tower. Feng Jia's eyes were wide open. Lin Xiaosu looked into those eyes and smiled. Feng Jia let out a light breath. The sect surrounds it on that side, and someone kills him on this side. A brilliant scheme and clever move, but I think the most ingenious part should still be me, right? Senior Sister Huida. Xiao Palace has always been domineering. Anyone who dares to touch its external forces will surely bring strong suppression from Xiao Palace. And if I, the demon-faced witch, make a move personally, the people who come to suppress it will be quite particular. An elder level might not suffice. The sect master must come in person. This is the true wonder of your brilliant move, right? Senior Sister Huida, Lin Xiaosu smiled. Feng Jia sighed deeply. May I ask, this pawn that you've manipulated repeatedly, turned dizzy on your chessboard, how is it supposed to be wise? Senior Sister, to be able to wholeheartedly associate with me, to walk side by side in such a difficult situation, to see through appearances to the essence, to ignore the current details and face the future sky, isn't that wisdom? This is great wisdom. Feng Jia lightly shook her head. I only hear one thing from you. You are very capable, you have a bright future, and you boast grandly while using me as a foil. Truly, I'm impressed. I am a bit worried, seriously. What? Feng Jia said, I will eventually have to walk outside. If everyone outside is like you, I'm afraid. I'm worried that once I step into the outside world, I will be sold, and surely I will be the one counting money for them. These words carried a bit of mockery and self-deprecation, but also some genuine thoughts. Feng Jia was indeed shocked by Lin Xiaosu's successive clever schemes. The matter she and Lu Rusi were worried about had long been thought of by Lin Xiaosu, and he already had a solution to break the situation. This solution was tailor-made. How to create it? Feng Jia herself was the biggest highlight. Feng Jia had just killed the 9th elder of Xiao Palace yesterday. The 9th elder of Xiao Palace was a high-level member. Anyone who dared to kill him warranted the sect master to come personally. Currently, Xiao Palace was searching all over Kunkang, but had not found the whereabouts of the demon-faced witch. As long as the demon-faced witch appeared in Kishui City, how could Dongfeng Lai, who was nearby, not come out? And it must be him. It couldn't be anyone else. Why? Because anyone else would be too risky. Feng Jia can kill the 9th elder with one sword, who can guarantee she won't kill other elders. When she is so close, what reason is there for other elders to take the risk? The comprehensive conclusion was that as long as Feng Jia wore the mask and attacked Xiao Tower, Dongfeng Lai, even if he was amidst a romantic moment, would immediately withdraw and come out of the sect. All the considerations and weighings combined to form a rope. This rope and the array formed a perfect match, making up for the possible 2% chance of an accident within the array, making it inevitable for Dongfeng Lai to come out of the sect. This is the strategy. This is the scheme of manipulating people and minds, a no-leak strategy. Noon was approaching. In Kishui City, the ancient style continued its millennia of tranquility. In the taverns and singing houses, gentle songs and dances conveyed a serene grace. On top of Rousey Courtyard, Lu Rusi sat in the pavilion, raising the teacup to her lips and taking a light sip, unable to tell if it was hot or cold. Lin Xiaosu sat opposite her, eyes closed while resting, his figure shielded by the screen behind him, invisible to anyone in the city. From here, one could see a side of Xiao Peak. Looking from this side, Xiao Peak was the same as usual. The peak was filled with myriad phenomena, akin to the grandeur of the immortal family. Below the peak, roosters crowed and dogs barked, portraying a rustic scene. There were fishermen in the river, woodcutters at the foot of the mountain. Everyone was in place. Half a quarter hour left. Lu Rusi's soft voice gently wafted over like a strand of silk, entering Lin Xiaosu's ear. Don't be nervous, Lin Xiaosu smiled faintly. No matter how things turn out, I must thank you for your kindness, Lu Rusi said softly. No need, Lin Xiaosu replied. Our deal with Li Palace is mutually beneficial. What we gain is merely a win-win situation. Even if it's a win-win in your blueprint, people in Li Palace should remember that for a century before your arrival, no one had given Li Palace any hope of winning. Her voice was soft and gentle. Her voice seemed to have traveled through the Kishui rivers, many twists and turns. Lin Xiaosu gently placed his teacup on the table. It's beginning. Lu Rusi's gaze suddenly lifted. She saw a faint light. just a faint light. However, in Lin Zayasu's eyes, it was entirely different. He possessed the heavenly Tao wisdom eye and could see the array patterns. In his eyes, 36 array patterns simultaneously surged into the sky, forming a densely packed array grid above Zayao Peak. It worked. The biggest stone in his heart finally landed. Yes, everyone had a heavy stone in their hearts, including Lin Zayasu. It was his first time setting up an array in his life. Although the circulation array recorded this array, and he had verified its feasibility many times with the array path theory from the circulation array, theory was ultimately just theory. Whether it would succeed depended on the result. Now the result was out. It worked. Senior sister, Lin Zayasu, stood up. With a swish, a figure emerged from the guest room and appeared before Lin Zayasu in one step. At this moment, the mask on Feng Jai's face was so bewitching and eerie. The person who all of Kun Kang was speculating about and trending searches for, the demon-faced witch, made her official appearance. Did it work? Feng Jai's voice was also filled with excitement. It worked. As soon as Lin Zayasu's two words fell, Lu Rusi stood up, her palm full of cold sweat. Destroy Zayao Tower. Go. With a swish, Feng Jai stepped out, tiptoed, and soared into the sky. With a whoosh, Lin Zayasu also tiptoed and soared away. Lu Rusi followed along. Towards noon, Zayao Tower was bustling. Because Zayao Tower was the tripartite sect building. What is tripartite? A restaurant, brothel, and commercial building. It was the liaison for Zayao Palace and brought in an endless stream of wealth. In any era, food, entertainment, and usage were the main sources of wealth. So Zayao Tower encompassed all three. The elder overseeing this tower was named Qiu Zinsui. He originally had a chance to break into the observing heaven realm, but because of business and miscellaneous affairs, he ended up being the most senior observing earth in Zayao Palace. Worldly matters involve gains and losses. He lost the path to observing heaven, but gained endless worldly pleasures. Sitting in Zayao Tower, he enjoyed the best food and women in the world. Any girl in Kishui City that he fancied would always find a way to be acquired. If they loved money, he'd throw money at them. If they didn't love money, he'd threaten their family. If they had no family and didn't love money, wasn't there still the sack? Send a person in the dead of night, cover them with a sack, drag them back and toss them on the bed and get it done. There was no one he couldn't get. Last night's girl, for example, thrashed around when taken out of the sack but lost all spirit after the act, left with nothing but tears. Dumping her in the brothel would yield another source of income. The world was full of indulgent matters. If anything did give him a headache, it would be the troublesome task personally assigned by the great elder, uncovering the roots of the demon-faced witch. Kun Kang was vast, Jianghu was extensive. How could he find such a top expert? He could only resort to deploying spies and waiting for the demon-faced witch's next move. As he contemplated which line the spies should prioritize, a sudden sharp scream emerged from outside. It seemed like a crowing rooster's throat had been slit. Qiu Zinsui suddenly lifted his head. He was at the peak of observing Earth. His Jianghu experience was exceedingly rich. Swish! The wooden wall outside burst into countless pieces. Qiu Zinsui saw through the dusty chaos a figure. Black robes. Demon-faced. Demon-faced witch. A figure leaped from the left. It was Qiu Zinsui's son, Qiu Gongcheng. He swung down fiercely with a saber, directly targeting the demon-faced witch. The demon-faced witch seemed to disregard him, walking casually. Just as the saber was about to strike her, her sword flashed, and Qiu Gongcheng's head flew off. The entire Zayao Tower exploded. Cold sweat broke out on Qiu Zinsui's back. He raised his hand. A jade pendant appeared in his palm. He crushed the jade pendant, and a hazy mist transformed into a crane, shooting from the Zayao Tower rooftop straight to Zayao Peak. That was all he had time to do. In the next moment, a matchless sword light swept across the roof, slicing off Zayao Tower's 5th floor. Qiu Zinsui's eyes widened in disbelief. A bloodline appeared at the center of his brows and slowly expanded. Bang! Qiu Zinsui split in two. Atop Zayao Peak, countless people simultaneously looked up. Above their heads, a crane's light and shadow appeared in the void. Urgent message from Zayao Tower. What's happening? An elder stepped out of a room. Reporting to the great elder, came the response from the high tower in the northwest corner. Zioil Tower has been flattened with a single sword strike. It's the demon-faced witch. It's her. The words demon-faced witch stirred countless ripples below. The great elder leapt forward, with a few strides landing atop the northwestern high tower, his hawk-like eyes piercing through 10 miles of void, firmly locking onto Zioil Tower. On the roof of Zioil Tower, flattened with a sword strike. A woman atop the roof, her gaze lifted, fixing on Zioil Peak. Her face adorned with an extremely bewitching mask. Such audacity to actually dare come, the great elder shouted angrily, "Go." With a swish, he soared through the air. With a whoosh, 4 to 5 figures followed, all top elders. Observing heaven realm. 5 or 6 top experts moved at once. However, just when they were about to step out of Zioil Peak, a sudden boom erupted. They seemed to hit an invisible barrier. 6 observing heaven experts were simultaneously repelled, heavily crashing to the ground, their true chi in a mess, dazed. "Array," the 5th elder shouted, his voice filled with disbelief. The other elders' expressions changed. An array. Someone dared to use an array to block Zioil Palace. Even these top elders couldn't break through. The great elder's face darkened, his mustache trembling. "Old 5, confirm it's an array." "Absolutely confirmed." Such a despicable thief, to use an array to block Zioil Peak and then ruthlessly kill our disciples in the city. The 2nd elder's eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Report immediately to the palace master." The 5th elder leaped up. "No need, the palace master already." Boom! Top Zioil Peak, a wooden hut suddenly exploded. A figure stood on the solitary peak's summit. The peak was 1,000 yards high, and this person looked like a blade of grass. But when he raised his gaze, even the clouds beneath his feet did not seem to move, because he was Dongfeng Lai, a giant of the Enlightenment realm. Using an array to block Zioil Peak and slaughter in the outer regions, demon-faced witch, courting death. Chapter 275. Chapter 275. Breaking out of the formation, seeking one's own death. His hand suddenly lifted. True essence transformation. A true essence giant hand, 100 meters long, emerged from the peak, seemingly piercing the sky. With an earth-shattering boom, the ground shook and the mountains trembled. The 36 array bases around shook simultaneously. Everyone's faces changed color. However, Dongfeng Lai's face also changed. This strike clearly touched the edge of the array, but it couldn't truly break it. He felt the array was like an extremely solid membrane, forcibly resisting his blow. Such an array level was astonishing in Kunkang. Would dare to use such a heavy hand against Zioil Palace. Could it be the Yin-Yang Temple Master? No matter who it was, he had to leave the array first. He sensed the upper limit of the array. It shouldn't withstand his full strike. Only by breaking out of the array could he seize the initiative and eliminate all unforeseen variables at the first moment. His foot moved, and with the full power of his Enlightenment realm cultivation, he soared into the sky. Hiss! As he charged, it was like tearing old cowhide. The grand array was forcibly broken by him. As the array shattered, Dongfeng Lai's heart filled with joy. He took a deep breath, and his true yuan within surged. He was about to rush to Kishui City with the unstoppable momentum of the Enlightenment realm to tear the demon-faced witch into pieces. However, at that moment, the true yuan within his body, which had always obeyed his will, suddenly refused to cooperate. He couldn't mobilize it. Dongfeng Lai's heart raced. At this moment, he was in midair, charging towards Kishui City in the standard posture of a giant of the Enlightenment realm. However, his true yuan failed him. With his true yuan unresponsive, he was no longer in the Enlightenment realm but had reverted back to the observing heaven realm. Observing heaven masters couldn't cross 10 miles in an instant. After rushing a mere 2 or 3 miles, he plummeted, seeing himself about to crash from 100 meters high. Fortunately, his cultivation foundation was extremely solid. He adjusted his posture to minimize the impact. The ground quickly approached. Boom! He landed firmly on a stone by the Kishui River. The stone shattered under his feet. Dongfeng Lai's hair fluttered, completely clueless as to what had just happened. Why did an array appear? Why was his true yuan restrained? Who was behind this? Suddenly, he turned around sharply. A figure was walking towards him, elegant and poised. It was none other than the current master of Li Palace, Lu Sanqian. Lu Sanqian, it's you. Dongfeng Lai's heart was in turmoil, but his voice remained steady. He had to gamble. Gamble that Lu Sanqian didn't realize his true yuan was compromised. If he could bluff Lu Sanqian for a quarter of an hour, he was confident his dormant true yuan would recover. Once it did, he would once again be an Enlightenment realm giant, capable of trading blows with any other giant. If he restored his Enlightenment realm power, seasoned as he was, what did he have to fear from Lu Sanqian, who had only been in the Enlightenment realm for 5 years? Dongfeng Lai, Lu Sanqian sighed softly. You killed my father and destroyed Li Palace 100 years ago. Is it not a bit too late for me to seek revenge today? Dongfeng Lai laughed maniacally. Revenge? Do you have the ability to do so? Ha, aren't you afraid that the few survivors of Li Palace will be wiped out due to your foolishness? As he said the first part, his face was full of arrogance. By the time he finished, his face was ominously dark, filled with an oppressing aura. Lu Sanqian laughed. In the past, I indeed lacked the power to destroy your Xiaoyao palace, but today is different. Dongfeng Lai, your true yuan is restrained. For at least half an hour, you are no longer an Enlightenment realm giant. Dongfeng Lai's heart skipped a beat, and his mind went blank. His whole act was just a bluff to buy time, to reignite his internal true yuan. But his biggest trump card had already been seen through by Lu Sanqian. His crisis instantly escalated to the maximum. With a swish, he retreated into the Kishui River. In the instant he retreated, his movements were exceptionally graceful. This was the famed Xiaoyao Lotus Steps of Xiaoyao Palace. With Xiaoyao Lotus Steps in the blink of an eye, Dongfeng Lai had merged into the Kishui River, seemingly vanishing. How mysterious was this technique? However, within him, his heart was ice cold. Because he knew that this Xiaoyao step was vastly different from his Xiaoyao Lotus Steps when he was in the Enlightenment realm. In the Enlightenment realm, his Xiaoyao Lotus Steps could traverse the Kun Kang 83 peaks in an instant. But today's Xiaoyao Lotus Steps couldn't even cross the 5-mile width of Kishui River in one step. Could such footwork truly support him in escaping to South Swamp? Yes, South Swamp was his destination. At this moment, he had fallen in rank. At this moment, he was absolutely no match for Lu Sanqian. He had to buy himself 15 minutes. Under normal circumstances, for a non-Enlightenment realm person to buy 15 minutes under an Enlightenment realm's attack was a fantasy. But Dongfeng Lai had unparalleled battle experience. His thoughts were exceptionally clear, knowing he had a chance 30 miles away in South Swamp. If he could escape into South Swamp and dive into its bottomless swamps, he'd buy himself at least 7 minutes. As long as his true yuan resumed operation within him, he would escape his predicament. At this moment, his desire for survival ignited all his blood. His Xiaoyao Lotus Steps surged beyond the extreme limits of the observing heaven realm. However, a true essence giant finger broke through the waves, shattering all his illusions. Lu Sanqian broke his Xiaoyao illusion, saw through his real body, and sent a finger strike, ending his dream of fleeing to South Swamp. In the blink of an eye, the giant finger was only 3 meters away from him. Dongfeng Lai roared, Dekongxuan. His hands suddenly turned, and his fingers intertwined. This was his Dekongxuan. As Dekongxuan emerged, 2 water dragons shot out from behind him, spinning into a yin-yang taikai. The level of this Dekongxuan surpassed that of Sangqiu from De Rai Xiao Temple by a grand level. Unfortunately, it was still not the Dekongxuan of the Enlightenment realm. He couldn't recreate the former grandeur of sweeping an entire river with a single spin of his fingers. It couldn't possibly stop Lu Sanqian's gentle finger. Boom! The 2 water dragons were simultaneously annihilated. Dongfeng Lai flew backwards, crashing into the riverbank behind him. Bang! The ground shook, and the blood-stained peak above the riverbank crumbled with falling stones. In Kishui City, countless people stared in amazement. Heavens, is it a battle of the Enlightenment realm? Is it a direct confrontation between the masters of Xiaoyao Palace and Li Palace? An Enlightenment realm battle overturning heavens and earth, how dare they? Wait, why does it seem like the Xiaoyao Palace master is losing? This can't be possible. Among the falling stones, Dongfeng Lai, with disheveled hair, suddenly raised his hand and drew the Xiaoyao blade, thin as a cicada wing, from his waist. The world is vast, but I am free. Great freedom 9 forms. As his form rose, the true yuan within him seemed to break through some mysterious barrier. His cicada wing saber gleamed with a green light. As he slashed, it was absolutely stunning and awe-inspiring. However, a true essence giant finger broke through the air. With a move, the finger was sharp as a sword, pointing to the sky. Li Ren swordsmanship's first form, Li Ren slash. As they change, the sword slashed, ripping through half the sky. This sword carried an unparalleled sword chi. As the sword fell, the true yuan that Dongfeng Lai had mustered was cut through by the sword. His arm was severed, turning to blood mist as it flew. In front of him, the skies seemed filled with sword chi. Lu Sanqian, Dongfeng Lai roared. 100 years ago, it was not just Xiao Palace that destroyed Li Palace. Do you know the origin of the heavenly death poison your father was afflicted with? This might have been his last bargaining chip. The destruction of Li Palace was shrouded in countless mysteries. It would be more attached to these mysteries than Lu Sanqian. But he had not found the truth. Dongfeng Lai could give him that truth. Dongfeng Lai banked on the fact that no matter the murderously driven Li Ren's swordsmanship, upon hearing this, Lu Sanqian would pause. For it was a secret no son, no new master could afford to miss. But he was wrong. As they change, countless sword chi suddenly turned into spring rain, filling the sky. They simultaneously pierced Dongfeng Lai's entire body. Dongfeng Lai's eyes widened in disbelief. You. In the void, Lu Sanqian advanced step by step. Indeed, I wish to know who colluded with you back then. However, Dongfeng Lai, no secret can save your life. Ultimately, you're wasting your wits. Dongfeng Lai's eyes locked onto him, faint light flickering over his body. After your death, I will flatten your Xiao Palace. Your loyal followers will accompany you to the 9 netherworld hell. Kun King cannot contain your steps, but hell will judge. Boom! A violent explosion. Dongfeng Lai's body shattered. Within him, it was as if 10,000 swords had exploded. Behind him, under the countless sword chi, half a mountain peak was swept clean. The sword chi was the power of Lu Sanqian's previous strike. That strike was the third form of Li Ren swordsmanship, called Li Ren Tears. The mountain peak wobbled. The river flow nearly ceased. As the wind blew, it brought with it a mysterious chill. Along the ancient path by the river, it was as if echoes from history whispered. Lu Sanqian's gaze lifted, staring beyond the firmament. 2 lines of tears seeped from his eyes. These were also Li Ren tears. 100 years of resentful separation. Never forgetting the original intent. A century of enduring patience, what deep sorrow. How many ancestors shed blood in Li Ren Valley? How much hatred flowed in the Kishui River? How much humiliation still played out in Kishui City today? How many in Li Ren, upon embarking on the path of no return in life, shed Li Ren tears? All of it rewritten today. Kun Kang turned over a new page today. His eyes snapped up, glaring at Xiao Peak across the river. On Xiao Peak, in a tall building, the great elder held tightly to the railing before him, which had already been crushed, but he seemed not to notice, still clutching it. His face was drained of blood. His white hair was tousled by the wind. This towering Union Pavilion was the platform from which Xiao Palace overlooked Kishui City. It was also the tower from which Xiao Palace looked down upon Kun Kang. How many times had they stood on this platform, proud to be part of Xiao Palace? But today, they witnessed a shocking upheaval in Kun Kang. Their palace master, the brilliant giant Dongfeng Lai, was slain by Lu Sanqian before their eyes. Slain without any suspense. How could an enlightenment realm giant be killed? They were terrified, incredulous, unwilling, but despite 1,000 unbeliefs and 1,000,000 thoughts, none could cover up the arrival of the greatest crisis in history. Chapter 276. Chapter 276. A bottle of soft silk, stabilizing Xiao Peak. Great Elder, the palace master, he. The second elder's voice was like a sob, hoarse as a bellows. The great elder abruptly raised his head. The palace master has been assassinated. The crisis in Xiao Palace is unprecedented. All those above the observing realm prepare for battle. Kill the enemy. Kill. 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 Thousands of voices roared in unison, shaking the earth and piercing the heavens. With a swoosh, the clouds in the sky seemed to scatter instantly. A figure of 1,000 feet appeared out of nowhere. This was the true essence transformation of Lu Sanqian. The true essence transformation of the enlightenment realm does not mean his true body expands to 1,000 feet, but rather his true yuan extends externally to 1,000 feet. The 1,000-foot Dharma body descended in one step, passing through the array and landing on Xiao Peak. This array sealed from the inside, providing no obstruction to those outside. Lu Sanqian fell into Xiao Peak. 8 silhouettes rose simultaneously. It was the 8 Great Heaven Gazing personally led by the Great Elder. The entire Xiao Palace had only these 8 Great Heaven Gazing. The joint strike of the 8 Great Heaven Gazing was earth-shattering, causing winds and clouds to surge through the entire Xiao Palace. However, Lu Sanqian stretched out his hand, palm sweeping the air. Boom! The 8 Great Heaven Gazing flew out together. Slash! A strip of sword chi sharper than anything cut across the sky. The Great Elder's eyes widened abruptly, his lower body vanished. The other 7 Great Heaven Gazing rolling through the air were torn apart, one by one, as though caught in a raging torrent. Separation, Li Ren tears, so this is how it's used, the Great Elder muttered. Thud! He fell off the cliff. In just a moment, all 8 Great Heaven Gazing were cleared out. Swoosh! 3 figures crossed the array, entering Xiao Palace. The foremost person, moving like the wind, arrived mid-mountain in an instant, sword in hand with unstoppable sharpness, performing the first move of the Li Ren sword Dao, separation. One sword cut down 3 people. Beside him, a figure flickered, and a woman as beautiful as a flower appeared. With a red thread in her palm, she flicked it across the air, and 2 heads flew off. Lu Rufeng and Lu Rusi, the brother and sister. With a loud boom, a heavy sword was swung from behind them, landing on the gate tower of Xiao Palace, shattering it to pieces and causing it to collapse. It was the old man from the Rousey courtyard. The 3 of them, moving from bottom to top, carved a bloody path through the panicked and confused disciples of Xiao Palace, straight up to the peak. At the peak, a gigantic true yuan hand descended from the sky, obliterating Xiao Hall, the main hall of Xiao Palace, completely. Lu Sanqian strolled leisurely at the peak. With each step, another hall was destroyed, and anyone who emerged with a flick of his finger, a streak of sword chi would kill them instantly. By the time the Lu siblings and the old man officially reached the peak, it had been nearly cleared out. If Lin Ziasu's design of this scheme had any deviation, it was perhaps here. Lu Sanqian did not stop after reducing Dongfeng Lai and the 8 Great Heaven Gazing. Once his killing intent rose, he did not limit it to the top level, nor did he object to slaughtering multiple layers. Even if a dog of Xiao Palace caught his eyes, it would likely get smacked. Palace Master. Suddenly, a group of people rushed over from the left side, kneeling with a thud before Lu Sanqian. Lu Sanqian gently raised his finger, a murderous glint flashing on its tip. Palace Master, we are former members of the Li Palace. We were genuinely forced to do so back in the day. We have been looking forward to the Palace Master's return day and night. Palace Master, you are finally here. Countless shouts, countless pleas and sobs. Lu Sanqian coldly spoke. You are all former members of the Li Palace. Yes, Palace Master, we all are. Palace Master, in those days, it was our pig-headed forebears who followed Xiao Palace. We were too young then to understand. After growing up, we often confronted our forebears over this, but now most of them are deceased. As their children, we dare not speak ill of our father's mistakes, only hoping the Palace Master will grant us a chance to atone for our sins. There was a slight disturbance in the killing intent in Lu Sanqian's eyes. If it were the same batch of traitors from back then, he wouldn't spare a single one. However, 100 years is a long time. Most of those traitors are already dead. These children were not even adults when the Li Palace split, with no capacity for independent judgment. Do they really deserve to die? The people of Li Palace, not many are left. Father, a voice came from his side. How about leaving it to your daughter to handle? The voice was like flowing water, indeed his daughter, Lu Rusi. Lu Rusi, though a woman, possessed remarkable wisdom, and Lu Sanqian still valued her words quite a bit. Very well, the follow-up matters, leave them to you, Lu Sanqian said. Lu Rusi bowed to her father and stepped forward. Former members of the Li Palace, having split from the Li Palace for 100 years and become traitorous to the cause, your original identities have no meaning. Hence, do not speak of your old identities. Upon hearing her words, the faces of the hundreds below turned ashen, filled with hopeless despair. Lu Rusi's second sentence followed. Everyone, loyalty is in the present moment. Those willing to pledge allegiance to Li Palace, crawl on your knees and consume these soft silk pills. Any cultivator who has not taken soft silk within 2 hours will be executed without mercy. She stretched out her hand, a leather pouch appearing in her palm. Inside were over 1,000 green pills. Lu Sanqian and Lu Rufeng exchanged a glance and smiled simultaneously. All these years, the sister had collected countless prescription formulas, immersing herself in the study of poisons. Although they had never quite approved, feeling that poisons had limited utility for high-end cultivators or their grand revenge plans, today, faced with this non-cultivator crowd, even Lu Sanqian found the situation tough to handle. With her secret poison soft silk, the girl made it simple and efficient. In no time, almost all cultivators in Xiao Palace subordinate troops were incorporated into the Li Palace's ranks. The Li Palace's cultivators, starting with less than 300, swelled to over 2,000 in an instant. These over 2,000 were all cultivators. Behind the cultivators were their families. Having subdued the cultivators, their families also followed suit. So there was no need for a large-scale purge. Li Palace had overcome its manpower shortage. A win-win situation indeed. This scene at Xiao Peak was visible even in Kishui City. The entire city was in tremendous chaos. All other Xiao Palace operations, every cultivator there fell into despair, their faces ashen, paralyzed in shock. A moment later, who knows where it started, someone made the first move to flee. As the panic spread, all station cultivators began to flee. They successfully escaped Kishui City, heading into eastern and western mountain paths. However, upon entering the forest, a cold voice came from above the trees, trying to escape. Slash. Sword light flashed. In a swift massacre, not a single fleeing soul of Xiao Palace's Kishui City members escaped. Because today's grand battle of the Li Palace, uniquely bizarre in history, mobilized absolute elites. Besides these top-notch experts, a massive number of observing Earthrealm handled the peripheral cleansing tasks. The observing Earthrealm, mid-tier in the cultivation path, might not handle assaulting Xiao Peak well. But for dealing with those non-combatant Xiao Palace members in Kishui City, they were more than adequate. In the city, the sound of slaughter ceased. Outside the city, the sound of slaughter ceased. Lin Xiaosu slowly withdrew his gaze. Feng Jai beside him also withdrew her gaze from Xiao Peak. Though still far, it seemed both could see the scene atop the main peak of Xiao clearly. Feng Jai lifted her teacup, the cup hiding her face. A slight blush adorned her face. After a single sweep of her sword through the Xiao Tower, killing Tower Master Qiu Zinsui, she had not struck again. The two of them watched a battle of two Enlightenment Realm experts from the tower roof before their figures flickered and left Xiao Tower, vanishing from sight. When they appeared again, Feng Jai's mask had disappeared. As they walked side by side into another tavern, no one could link them to the demon-faced witch. They ascended to the top floor, ordered a cup of tea, and quietly admired their masterpiece. Junior brother, yesterday at this time, I thought you were insane, but today, the century-long plan of the Li Palace is accomplished. Feng Jai's voice came, sounding like a sigh or a whisper. And then, Lin Xiaosu asked. What do you mean, and then? Lin Xiaosu said, at this point you should have a concluding sentence, something like, Junior brother, you truly are a genius. Where's my praise? Feng Jai's eyes swept over his face for a long, long time. Junior brother, I admit you are a genius, but asking for praise on your own, that genius part seems a bit. Suddenly, voices came from the next room. What do you think about today's events, old man? The voice was loud and excited, from two people who had just entered the room, beginning their discussion. The moment they started, Feng Jai's voice halted abruptly. An elderly voice said, extraordinary. Two words, extraordinary. Indeed, who could deny it? In Kun Kang, no Enlightenment realm has been killed in a century, but today, a precedent was set. A revered Enlightenment realm gone just like that. The entire Kun Kang will be thrown into turmoil. The elderly man said, 100 years ago, the last Enlightenment realm head to be killed was the former palace master of the Li Palace. Today, fittingly, the new Li Palace master avenged that death. It's karmic, but more importantly, how did Lu Sanqian demote Dongfeng Lai? Formation. I found out it was a formation. This formation can seal, but the Enlightenment realm can break it. Breaking the formation drops their realm. This is Lu Sanqian's extreme strategy tailored for Dongfeng Lai. Formation. The elder's voice quivered slightly. Did the Yin-Yang Temple Master intervene? Whether true or not, the winds of change will storm Kun Kang, the middle-aged man said. Old man, we should return to our sect immediately. Let's go. With a swoosh, the door swung open, and the two left the room. "Sirs, your food and drink," the server's voice came. "Cancel." With a zip, something landed with a thud. It was the sound of a small bag being thrown. The two exited, leaving their meal untouched yet still paid. Feng Jai slowly lifted her gaze. "See, your move has sent shockwaves through Kun Kang. Though you said your third purpose was to establish dominance, I think there's still time to change your strategy." Chapter 277. Chapter 277. Please, young master, ascend the peak. Currently, aside from the Li Palace, no one knows that Lin Zaiasu played the most crucial role in this calamitous event. As long as it's mentioned to Lu Sanqian, him keeping it a secret is only natural. This way, there's no need for him to stand at the forefront and become the focal point of the Kun Kang 83 peaks. Oh no, 82 peaks powerhouses. Conversely, once he becomes this focal point, there are 10,000 possibilities for what happens next. Feng Jai's reminder, with good intentions, is objectively responsible. For an unknown novice with just observing Earth realm cultivation to become the focus of Kun Kang's powerhouses is, in any case, unwise. Lin Zaiasu lightly smiled. "I appreciate sister's concern, but my subsequent plans cannot do without this astonishing stroke, so even if it's risky, I can't afford to care." "Subsequent plans, you have more to come." Feng Jai's eyes widened. "Does sister still wish to continue watching?" Lin Zaiasu blinked. "I should tell you, the benefits I promised you haven't been given yet." Feng Jai groaned. "Is this a temptation?" "Consider it so. Ordinary people are tempted by benefits, but for a celestial being like you, sister, only curiosity might keep you around me a few more days. I think you must be very curious about how this unknown novice messed with Kun Kang step by step." Feng Jai's eyes turned white with less black. "Celestial being. Are you sure you meant to describe me? Could it be the words meant to allure Lu Rusi, mistakenly used incoherently?" "How could it be? Is it too much to describe sister as a celestial being?" "Not at all. Sister's sword Tao is like an immortal soaring from the heavens. Honestly, if sister doesn't mind, I truly feel you're more beautiful now, really. I've heard there are ophthalmologists in the outside world. If you're fortunate enough to return, remember to see one. Your eyes are truly blind." Feng Jai looked at him with great sympathy. Thud. The door was knocked. Feng Jai lightly moved her hand, and the door opened. Outside stood two people, the Lu family siblings, appearing like a golden boy and Jade girl. They deeply bowed. Lin Zaiasu and Feng Jai stood to welcome them. Lu Rusi slowly straightened her waist. For 100 years, the Li Palace has harbored deep resentment. Young Master Lin performed miracle healing. My father has gathered all disciples on Xiaoyao Peak to welcome you. If you don't mind making this public, please ascend the peak. This sentence still presented a choice. If you wish, make it public. If not, you don't have to. Everything depends on your word. Lin Zaiasu slightly smiled. I have always been open and upright in the outside world. Entering Kun Kang, I'm not accustomed to hiding. Let's go. Please, young master. Please. Before passed through the city, Lin Zaiasu first revealed his true face. But beside him, Feng Jai remained the demon-faced witch. Lin Zaiasu chose to expose himself, but Feng Jai did not. Because she was not just herself. Behind her was Shenghua Valley. Even if she could make her own choice, she couldn't decide for her master. On Xiaoyao Peak, half the peak was ruins. Upon stepping onto Xiaoyao Peak, Lin Zaiasu's mind unconsciously returned to the recent fight. More precisely, the moment when Lu Sanqian's true essence Dharma image was 1,000 zhang in the sky. He finally understood the strict hierarchies in the cultivation path. Between observing human, observing earth, and observing heaven, although the differences are vast, they are within normal range since they all belong to the same realm, with differences in tiers. But the gap between observing heaven and enlightenment realm is too immense. It's a realm gap. The lowest enlightenment realm facing the highest observing realm could be decided with a single slap. This is the level he can currently comprehend in the cultivation hierarchy, so what is beyond this level? It's truly unimaginable. Above, countless people stood in 2 rows. Some were from the Li Palace, and a large number from Xiaoyao Palace. Seeing his slightly astonished expression, Lu Rusi softly smiled. A strand of voice like silk entered his ear. Young Master Lin, they have already ingested my soft silk around. Should they dare to rebel afterward, it will be self-destruction. This voice was similar to Ding Ruishui's secret transmission that day. It had the essence of ancient martial secret transmission. Evidently, she too mastered it. Lin Zaiasu mimicked, controlling his voice with true qi, attempting to form a line of response. Miss Lu's iron blood silk strengthens oneself, undermines the enemy, solidifies internally, shows benevolence externally. What an excellent strategy. Lu Rusi's beautiful eyes were full of excitement. Young master saw through what I've been plotting for years with just one sentence. At this moment, she felt a very peculiar sensation within. What kind of feeling? Gold is easy to find. A confidant is hard to come by. Though she was a child of Jianghu, she possessed strategy, unlike an ordinary Jianghu girl. In her world there were Jianghu matters, but in her eyes, there was Jianghu politics. Kun Kang's Jianghu youths rarely had Jianghu politics in their sight. And this young master before her did. Because the 4 points he mentioned were the primary reasons she relinquished Li Palace's feud and subdued Xiao Palace's disciples and traitors. For Li Palace and Xiao Palace's intense feud, in the eyes of a typical Li Palace person, as long as they're in power, even if Xiao Palace's dogs have to be killed and cooked and the people eradicated for revenge. But she actively petitioned her father to let her handle it. Her approach was extremely gentle, even causing confusion and anger among many Li Palace disciples. However, her painstaking efforts are not easily understood by ordinary people. Killing solves hatred, but for a sect to establish itself in Kun Kang, it cannot act on impulses. If you kill all these core forces, Li Palace with only around 300 people, how can it stand? On the contrary, retaining these people achieves 4 benefits. First, directly strengthening Li Palace. Second, the remaining forces of Xiao Palace would have to consider their relatives in Li Palace if they wish to cause trouble, and they can even remotely control these forces through those under control. Third, seamlessly taking over Xiao Palace's financial resources without starting from scratch. Fourth, standing on the moral high ground of Jianghu, showcasing Li Palace's benevolence, making it difficult for other sects to argue if they plan to cause trouble. These are the keys to establishing a sect. These are the larger schemes, visions, and wisdom beyond Jianghu's confrontations. Her father, though a hero of his time, might not have seen it all. Her brother, though a Jianghu elite, might not have seen it all. Yet he saw it all at a glance. His larger scheme surpassed her father and brother. His strategy resonated with hers. In her heart's sway, Lin Zaiasu's words reached her ear. So, Jianghu isn't just about fights. These words surprised Lu Rusi. For she clearly felt these words were for her ears only. Just now, Lin Zaiasu's first secret transmission was crude, like a child learning to speak, but this sentence he did it perfectly. Secret transmission operates by controlling sound waves with true qi, achievable only when one's true qi is at their command, generally, only achievable by observing heaven realm practitioners. Of course, some secret techniques or special constitution, like those mastering a water secret technique, can direct sound waves like water, precisely wherever desired. If Lin Zaiasu had reached observing heaven, Lu Rusi wouldn't be surprised, but he hadn't. Had Lin Zaiasu known some secret techniques, she wouldn't be surprised, but he had neither special constitution nor cultivation techniques. Had Lin Zaiasu known it from the start, it wouldn't be surprising either. This remarkable young master was proficient in arrays. Mastering the not-so-advanced secret transmission wasn't surprising. But Lin Zaiasu didn't know it from the start. Within 2 sentences, he mastered it. Is this learned and applied on the spot? If so, that's terrifying. This learning ability is defying the heavens. At the peak of Xiaoyao, Lu Sanqian personally welcomed them. Behind him, the elders of Li Palace bowed in unison, surrounded by a welcoming crowd, escorting Lin Zaiasu and Feng Jai into the guest pavilion. The guest pavilion, one of the few remaining intact buildings on Xiaoyao Peak. Inside, the aroma of wine and meat filled the air. Outside, there were ruins. Li Palace disciple discussed the legendary young master's legendary arrays. Patches of disciples were bewildered in the wind. They were originally Xiaoyao Palace disciples. They once contemplated going out of the palace to find the demon-faced witch, hoping to earn great merits and rewards upon return. But today, the demon-faced witch swaggered into Xiaoyao Peak, while the palace master and all elders accompanied her for drinks. And them, only able to drink the wind outside. Times have changed, the world has changed. The next morning, Lin Zaiasu opened the door and saw Lu Rusi. Lu Rusi respectfully bowed. Young Master Lin, my father has specifically instructed that if young master wishes to practice swordsmanship in Li Ren Valley, my humble self will fulfill this request. Lin Zaiasu sighed. It was a casual remark with your respected father, yet he made special arrangements, truly a trustworthy person. Lu Rusi smiled. May I ask which sect the swordsmanship young master has practiced belongs to? To be honest, I have never practiced swordsmanship. Lu Rusi said, since you've never practiced our palace's Li Ren swordsmanship can be your introductory sword Dao. This Li Ren sword manual, my father has kept for 100 years, I'll give it to you today for understanding. She raised her hand, taking out an ancient book from her bosom. The ancient book had a deep yellow hue, the pages extremely old. Lin Zaiasu stared at the 4 ancient script on the cover, slightly stunned. This sword manual, the palace master has kept it for 100 years. Yes, Lu Rusi said. Li Ren Valley is where the 3 ancestors of Li Palace comprehended swordsmanship, and to grasp the true essence of ancient great power swordsmanship, you must learn the Li Ren sword. Hence, during Xiao Palace's 100-year occupation of Li Ren Valley, they never gave up searching for this manual. Knowing its importance, father has never let it leave his side. Even for my brother and me, we've only received his oral teachings, never seeing this manual firsthand. Today, thanks to young master, I finally get to see it personally. Saying this, Lu Rusi smiled like a flower. Lin Zaiasu deeply felt. Such a treasure, the palace master generously shows me. How can I express my gratitude? You have a great favor in keeping Li Palace alive. Giving you this manual is but a trifle, Lu Rusi said. My father has clearly stated this manual is temporarily given to you for understanding, and the sister accompanying you can also study it together. Saying this, she glanced at the adjacent guest room. The guest room door gently opened. Chapter 278. Chapter 278. The Li Ren Sword in Li Ren Valley. Feng Jai stepped forward. Palace Master, I appreciate your kindness. I have yet to fully comprehend my sect's sword Dao and dare not delve into other techniques. I shall refrain from participating in your esteemed palace's secret techniques. Sister's sword Dao is wondrous and profound, even surpassing our palace's sword Dao. It's more fitting for you not to study the Li Ren sword techniques. Lu Rusi gently nodded. However, the Li Ren Valley is greatly beneficial for cultivators. Sister, you and the young master might as well enter together. Feng Jai slightly nodded. In that case, thank you. Li Ren Valley was once where an ancient great power comprehended sword Dao, and the pervasive sword Qi rendered the whole valley barren of vegetation. It seems a place of life and death extremity, but Feng Jai understood its significance. The pervasive sword Dao energies are everywhere. For cultivators entering, it is akin to receiving a massage from ancient masters with sword Qi. One can sense the mysteries of sword Dao closely, consolidate their foundation continuously, and even discover neglected cultivation flaws. Amidst the courteous exchange between the 2 women, Lin Zaiasu paid no attention. He had already opened the Li Ren swordsmanship, encountering sword Dao as a combat skill for the first time in his life. Sword Dao, the kingly way of weapons. Sword Dao, vast and profound. Sword Dao, it has form and spirit. A swordsman first grasps technique, then Qi, followed by intent and finally rules. What is intent? Initially, a sword forms a technique, an angered man drawing his sword and spilling blood within 5 steps. This is merely the elementary stage. In the second stage, the sword is Qi. Qi, transformed from true Qi, transforms into sword Qi when projected from the sword. Invisible yet more potent than form, sword Qi requires true Qi to release, starting from the observing heaven level. As for sword intent and sword rules, the sword manual only briefly touches upon them, suggesting they're beyond the consideration of his current level. The focus is on 3 techniques recorded within. First technique, Li Ren Slash. The sword of speed. Second technique, severing emotion. The sword of power. Third technique, Li Ren Tears. The sword of variation. The key to true Qi circulation within, the deconstruction of sword moves, the core essence of sword forms. Although not extensive in words, every word is precious. He did not notice when the 2 women began watching him as he flipped through the sword manual casually, their faces showing a strange expression. He really hasn't practiced swordsmanship. Feng Jai broke the silence with this explanation. Indeed, she understood Lu Rusi's strange expression. Every sword manual is notoriously abstruse. Anyone practicing swordsmanship needs to scrutinize every word, wondering at three-character phrases, possibly requiring days and nights to decipher a segment of text. Who in the world reads a sword manual like a novel, flipping a page here and there? Yet Lin did so. Feng Jai felt embarrassed and had to justify Lin Ziaosu's conduct, saying he hadn't practiced swordsmanship nor understood its methods. The young master is an array path genius and doesn't necessarily need sword Dao, specializing in a particular field. Lu Rusi's clever mind provided Feng Jai a more perfect answer. Before this sentence finished, Lin Ziaosu closed the manual. He handed the Li Ren sword manual back to Lu Rusi. "Miss Lu, I've finished reading it and would like to return it to you." Lu Rusi half opened her mouth. Actually, you could bring it into Li Ren Valley." "No need," Lin Ziaosu said. "Let's go." "Let me guide you." Lu Rusi personally led them through the front corridor. Disciples on both sides bowed. Ahead stood a rusty, bronze ruin. When they stepped into the ruins, the air seemed to turn colder. At the end of the ruin, there was a bronze gate, which Lu Rusi opened. Lin Ziaosu immediately sensed a completely different energy. Beyond the bronze gate, it seemed like an ancient battlefield. Killing intent lurked everywhere, sword chi crisscrossed. After countless ages, the killing intent hadn't dissipated. The sword chi still intersected across the river of time. "Young master, sister, beyond this gate is Li Ren Valley. Should you need to rest, come back here anytime. Food and drinks will be sent to this table daily by my order." "Thank you," Lin Ziaosu and Feng Jai bowed simultaneously. "Young master, take this sword." Lu Rusi handed the sword she wore at her waist to Lin Ziaosu. The sword was elegant, obviously a woman's sword, presumably her own. For cultivators, their familiar swords are untouchable by others. Yet today, she gave it directly to Lin Ziaosu. Because for training swordsmanship, one needs a sword. But Lin Ziaosu didn't have one. Lin Ziaosu accepted it straightforwardly. "I'll return it when I come out." Taking her sword, he and Feng Jai entered Li Ren Valley side by side. Lu Rusi quietly watched their backs, faintly furrowing her brow. "Sister," a voice came from the side. Her brother Lu Rufeng appeared beside her like a gust of wind. "The valley has been cleared. There's no one else inside. Their cultivation won't be disturbed and the sword manual is safe." Lu Rusi exhaled softly. He did not take the sword manual into the valley. "Did?" Lu Rufeng was surprised. "Li Ren swordsmanship. He's not interested." "He has an interest." He looked at it. "About a quarter of an hour." Lu Rusi's eyes shimmered with mystery. Then he handed the manual back to me, saying he had finished reading it. "A quarter of an hour?" Lu Rufeng was dumbfounded. "It takes that long just to flip through it casually, right?" Indeed, the sword manual has 58 pages. Even as a leisure book, it'd be impossible to understand the story in a quarter hour. But this isn't leisure reading. It's a complex and elusive sword manual. If I were to forcibly memorize it, I might manage 3 pages in a night. "Sister, your wisdom surpasses mine. You can memorize 3 pages. I could barely do 2 within unlimited time. I'd forget the earlier pages after reading the later ones," Lu Rufeng said. "Don't tell me this young master remembered the entire thing in a quarter hour." Lu Rusi said, "Logically, it's impossible, but the miracles he creates make me somewhat hopeful. Hopeful that months later, when he exits the valley, his sword will perform our palace's separation technique." Lu Rufeng laughed. "Possible?" Lu Rusi blinked. Lu Rufeng laughed heartily. "Sister, you are a master of the observing heaven level, saying something so counterintuitive hardly befits your stature. Fine, people have their ambitions. If he doesn't wish to learn our Li Ren swordsmanship, he must have his reasons. Let's go organize the sect's forces. Suddenly being assigned such a complex task, I am overwhelmed and you must assist me." In his perception, Lin Ziaosu had completely given up on the Li Ren swordsmanship. Because no one could grasp the essence of the sword manual in merely a quarter hour. Without understanding the manual, how could one master the Li Ren swordsmanship? At this moment, Lin Ziaosu had already stepped into Li Ren Valley. Behind him was that bronze gate. The bronze gate was only about 10 meters away, but it seemed strangely distant to him. It was a peculiar sensation. Feng Jai smiled gently. "Junior brother, is seeking sword enlightenment in Li Ren Valley what you desire?" "I suppose so." "Why the sudden urge to practice swordsmanship?" Feng Jai asked. Remember the incident in Chunshui Sek's corridor. That wretched second senior brother wanted to duel me, and I couldn't respond at the moment. Feng Jai smiled. So you aim to cover your weakness in sword Dao. Indeed, on the cultivation path, more often, swords do the talking. Not knowing swordsmanship might mean losing the right to speak in some situations. The phrase right to speak appeared literal but implied more upon contemplation. Feng Jai's eyes shimmered. I heard the outside world no longer uses swords. Even if you master sword Dao, your sword might not blend into your world. Lin Zaiasu smiled slightly. True, the outside world is no longer a world of swords, but the world isn't just the outside world. Feng Jai nodded gently. Enlighten yourself. Closing her eyes. With her eyes closed, the omnipresent sword qi permeated her body. These ancient sword qi led Feng Jai to a profound state, seemingly merging her sword Dao with the ancient sword Dao. This was an immense fortune for her. She practiced swordsmanship and was highly accomplished. The more mystical the sword Dao, the more it inspired her. She forgot about Lin Zaiasu. She forgot herself. Lin Zaiasu gradually distanced himself from her. 10 meters, 100 meters, 300 meters turning a corner. Suddenly, Lin Zaiasu drew his sword. Swishing. The first stance of Li Ren's swordsmanship, separation. This sword, devoid of other techniques, was purely about speed. The first strike was already swift. The second strike swifter. The third, the fourth, the fifth. Each strike outpaced the previous one. Lin Zaiasu harnessed all his muscles, engaged all his nerves, aiming solely for an ultimate goal, faster, even faster, faster still. The 30th strike. With that strike, Lin Zaiasu cleaved a rock into two halves. The fragments flew into the air. Lin Zaiasu had already sheathed his sword. Suddenly he thrust forth, and his sheathed sword trembled and emerged. Swishing. The two airborne fragments were further sliced into 4 pieces. Lin Zaiasu flicked his wrist, resheathing the sword. Gracefully poised. If Lu Rusi had witnessed this strike, she would be astounded because Lin Zaiasu's separation had reached the entry level of the Li Palace disciples. Normally, it takes 3 months to reach entry level, and he achieved it in 31 strikes, in merely a quarter hour. Lin felt a bit pleased with himself. He could almost foresee. One day, in a grand battle against foreign genetic people, his sword would gleam coldly, wreaking havoc across the battlefield. Feng Jai mentioned the outside world no longer uses swords. She was correct. Openly carrying a sword wouldn't even permit boarding a vehicle. But for him, conventional wisdom had already changed. A sword hidden in the secret realm space, summoned when needed, concealed when not, who would know? This sword Dao for close combat, Dekongxuan for long range. His skills were becoming complete. Suddenly, a phrase flashed in his mind. It was what Lu Sanqian said when he had taken him to the skies. In Li Ren Valley, the 3 ancestors of Li Palace left 3 sword marks. Li Ren Valley, Lin Zaiasu had gathered intelligence about it in Kishui City, the place where the 3 ancestors of Li Palace comprehended sword Dao. According to Lu Rusi, the 3 sword marks were indeed the legacy of the 3 ancestors. But one version differed slightly from the intelligence. This version, told by the palace master Lu Sanqian, said, the 3 ancestors left 3 sword marks. Where are the sword marks? They were invisible. At least within his visible range, they weren't there. Could this mean they require the primordial spirit to see?